on Bettor Sports Network.
Wilson has him at the line of scrimmage. First and goal to 3. Wilson keeps it. He fakes to Melvin Gordon, lays it to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver.
Play action, Tua rolling to his left. Stops. Nobody's open, Joe. He's going to be sacked back in his own territory at the 47-yard line. Tua's down.
He got body slammed. He got thrown down, and they're coming out right now. Jimmy had time to get rid of it. Instead, he gets thrown down hard, and he's not getting up.
Smith in motion to snap. Toss to McCaffrey, running right side. Got a great block for Bolton. McCaffrey cuts it inside the 10, 5, touchdown.
Getting you ready for NFL action with information, advice, and entertainment. The Game Day Playbook presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
Welcome everybody to the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm. I'm John Pemba with Andrew Cooper. Welcome to Week 7 of the NFL season. Right there, you heard Broncos Radio Network, Panthers Radio Network, bringing you some of the highlights there. Dolphins Radio Network as well. Some of the notable names not playing and returning this week. Coop, obviously no Russell Wilson for the Denver Broncos today. We're expecting a return from Tua. What are your how are you feeling about Week 7, man?
I'm fired up, baby. And so is Tommy getting the game in the chat. Morning, baby. Let's go. Sunday, baby. That is right. It is Sunday football time. And, I've been thinking about it. Feels like a lot of football through 6 weeks, but there is a lot of football left to be played, John. I mean, at this time last year, Amon St. Brown was doing nothing, and he did nothing for double this time. And then what did he do? Win a bunch of people leagues. So We're here to help win people leagues. Let's see if we can figure out what's going to happen through the 2/3 of the season left, right?
Yeah, like you said, there's still plenty of time to turn your season around. You don't no reason to be quitting. You got to be active on the waiver wires. If you woke up this morning early, you saw the report from Ian Rappaport that Isaiah Pacheco is taking over as the lead running back now in Kansas City. How long will that last? We'll find out. But at least for today, he was practicing with the ones. He's going to start ahead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If you invested that draft capital in him all the way back in August, and you held on to him for this long, that's paying off for you. If you were available at like 11 p.m. the other day when Christian McCaffrey got traded and you're available on your waiver wire and Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman were there, you were able to be active and pick up those players and potentially help your team moving forward. I mean, Coop, it's time now where you have to be aggressive. You have to be alert. You got to have push notifications turned on, especially if you're trying to fight for a playoff spot.
For real, man. I spit out my coffee when I saw that. I wasn't even drinking any at the time. That's a serious – the lead running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, say what you will, man. That line isn't the line it used to be. It's a good offensive line now. Creed Humphrey is a megastar. Joe Thuney is a good player. They have Orlando Brown. Like, that's a good line. If you have that role, and, of course, Patrick Mahomes, who just creates touchdowns out of thin air.
Right.
Like, if you're the lead back, shovel passes coming at you, easy touchdowns. So, it's a big pickup. Go grab them right now if you can. Yahoo Sleeper. They allow you to make pickups like that. You can drop guys that played on Thursday. Keep making moves. Stay in the game.
Yep, 100%. Like you said, there's plenty of ways for you to become still and make an impact in your league. And Coop, we talked about making trades. So there's obviously, you said there's some trades being made around the NFL. The biggest one was that Christian McCaffrey trade. We've seen rumors of potentially other players on the move, but give me your instant reaction to that Christian McCaffrey trade. How do you find it's going to impact the 49ers? And, we have a question already in chat, who's the guy that's carrying the rock now in Carolina?
Yeah. So, for the 49ers, I see people saying that this is just going to be like, it doesn't help them or it's a parallel move. This is a monster move. This is about as big as it gets. The 49ers didn't have a first-round pick, so they just traded everything else, the kitchen sink for him. And now he gets to run behind who I believe is the best offensive lineman in the league, and Trent Williams, who is also back now. So, Christian McCaffrey, it is wheels up for them. And, we saw this team go to the NFC Championship last year with pretty much the same team, except they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. So, pretty spicy. As far as Carolina, I think it's Donta Foreman. And, despite them being a bad team, I think Donta Foreman can be effective. We watched him look pretty good last year. I know it was with a better team in the Tennessee Titans, but he looked good. Right. There's a reason they brought him in. So I think he's going to get the first shot there. We've seen Chuba before. Not super exciting. I don't know if you feel any differently, John.
No, I feel like Chuba Hubbard would probably be more of a pass catching option for them if they want to go into that third down role, which, Carolina may be trailing in a lot of these games and they have to throw to that running back more than pound it with Donta Foreman But yeah, I'm in full agreement with you. I was actually surprised when I was looking at the Chuba Hubbard Wikipedia page there, Coop, that he was drafted in the CFL as well. I don't know if you saw that at all. A little interesting note on Chuba Hubbard there. He actually went later, apparently, in the CFL than he did in the NFL draft. So doesn't really make much sense to me. But again, I'm with you. I don't really want too much exposure at all to this, Carolina Panthers backfield. Guys, we have a lot to get to today. We're going to do game breakdowns. We're going to have your start-sit questions answered. We're going to be joined a little later on by Justin Fensterman. He does the playbook on Bettor Sports Network Monday through Friday with Aaron Ronas from 5 to 7. He's going to pop on today. He's going to give us some of his favorite player props and DFS plays. So you got to stay tuned for all of that there today as well. And you got to download the app, right? You got to go into the App Store, Coop, Google Play, iTunes. Download the Bettor Sports Network app. It's free to join. If you're watching this right now and you want your questions answered, you can skip the line. You don't have to wait for those to be answered. Download the app, sign up, click join the show, get your questions put directly into the Bettor Sports Network app. Coop and I answer those first. Well, we're going to answer the YouTube. We're going to be answering the Discord. But if you get into the Bettor Sports Network app and you start asking your questions in there, boom, priority. You're cutting that line. So you got to download it today.
Getting right to the front. And that's how we do things here. Some shows, they just sit there. They only answer start sits. That's boring. Some shows, they just do game previews. They don't even engage with the audience. That's lame. What we do here, we're going to hit on all the games. As you drop questions in the chat, we're going to take them. We're going to put them with the applicable game. So all we ask is that you hang with us. When we get to the first game where a player of yours from your start sit is involved, we're going to answer that question. Except, like John said, if you want to cut the line, if you download the app, get in that chat with us, smash that fun button, and put your questions in there, or call in. You can either call in with video or on air. We'll throw you right on. You can skip to whatever game you want, ask whatever start sit you want. That's how you cut the line. But we're going to get to all the questions and we're going to get to all the games. That's how we're going to do it.
Yep, 100% there. And it's going to be a full day of action here on the Bettor Sports Network as well. Not only do you have Coop and I from 9 to 11, but you have the Front Yard Fantasy crew from 11 to 1. You have Bettor Zone from 1 to 5, and then again from 5 to 8, taking you all the way up through Sunday Night Football there. So no reason at all to leave the Bettor Sports Network today. We're going to have you through with the rest of the action. Coop, other top stories for today. Again, we talked about it. No Russell Wilson for the Denver Broncos. They're home against the Jets. Brett Rippion's going to be starting for them today. There was obviously some controversy at the end of last week with Melvin Gordon seemingly being benched. And then Nathaniel Hackett came out and said he had a little one-on-one heart-to-heart, and now Melvin Gordon is going to be starting this week over Latavius Murray. How much longer does Nathaniel Hackett coach a football team, I have to ask you, because it seems like he's made a lot of very bad decisions, and now he's catering to a player who hasn't really been playing well. What are your thoughts here? Is the moment just too big for him?
You gotta give these guys more than 1 year. I mean, think about some of these situations. Think about Robert Saleh with the Jets. He, in that situation, was converting a 3-4 into a 4-3. You can't do that overnight. As Jim Harbaugh famously said for Michigan when they asked him about, turning that program around, he said, you can't plant potatoes today and expect to be eating potato salad tomorrow, right? So you got to give this guy more time to build his offense, right? It's not easy. All these, different schemes, the Erhardt Perkins and West Coast and Air Coryell, they're all different. It's a different language. So you got to give the guy at least a year, in my opinion, unless he does something egregious like Urban Meyer. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett's reached that level. I don't know about you, John.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I ultimately do agree with you. Obviously having a system where, there's a lot of moving parts and he's trying to establish what he wants to do, and you're bringing in a brand new quarterback and you're trying to put it into a new offense, and a lot of these guys have to learn new things. But just coach IQ seems low. The players don't seem to be buying in, and losing does not build a culture of winning like they talk about over in Detroit, right? Though Detroit doesn't actually win any of these football games, the team is buying in. So, there is a lot to glean from some of that. And right now you just see a lot of side eyes over on the Broncos sideline. So
it's funny how that matters, right? It matters because think about it, right? The Lions are the most optimistic, terrible one-win team of all time because they buy in the winning culture. You feel the shift. Meanwhile, look at that Dolphins team where the owner wanted to lose. He was reportedly paying the coach to lose. that team actually won like 6 games, like 7 games. Right? They kind of pushed themselves down the draft order, but it didn't feel like that, right? So you want to at least have that going with this Broncos team. It certainly doesn't feel like that. So they got to do something. They got to mix it up. I don't think Brett Ripien's the answer to that, but I'm just not going to cut ties yet. And John, you know what? For before we get into the game previews, why don't we knock out some of these questions quick? The ones in the chat, and then moving forward, we'll kind of match them up with the
for sure.
Yeah, let's
get if you want your questions answered first, you got to get into the Bettor Sports Network chat that we have going on here. It's a free app to download. Go to your iTunes, Google Play Store, and go ahead and download that. Sign up, join the show, and we'll be good to go in answering your questions. So some of these ones that we have in the chat right now, who do we think gets the carries in Carolina? We've talked about that one, and we think Donta Foreman is going to be the early one. Would I play him in DFS today? No. I would not touch him at all in DFS today. Not against Tampa Bay and that run defense. Like, what his floor is like 2 points. His ceiling is maybe 6. I don't think that they're going to be scoring many touchdowns at all today. So probably no go for me. Coop, you're the tight end whisperer. Do you got a sleeper tight end? You do the tight end coach over there at Fantasy Alarm.
Yeah, I do. I got a couple. One of them, Cade Otton. I think that's in that same game that we're talking about against the Panthers. This is a guy who last time Cameron Brate was out, he played 74 of 79 snaps, ran 51 routes. Obviously, the number of routes is dependent on how much they throw, but this guy, essentially, we're talking 95% snaps, 95% routes. He got 7 targets, caught 6 of them. Like, this guy is, I think, 2,700 on DraftKings, $200 above the bare minimum. And if you want a bare minimum guy, I kind of like Cole Turner for Washington. Logan Thomas is out. John Bates has not practiced all week. And, I think he's just flat out better than John Bates in the pass catching game. So, a couple cheap guys down there if you're really looking for dart throws.
Yep. He's got another question. Burrow or Jimmy G today? If you're talking DFS, you're looking at 2 completely different spectrums of the chalk status there, Coop. Joe Burrow expected to be one of the highest roster quarterbacks this week. Jimmy G, not so much. And I have Garoppolo in my contrarian corner DFS video that I put out this morning. A matchup against Kansas City. I was a little surprised to see him so expected to be low rostered. We have the draft percentage forecaster over on Fantasy Alarm. It gives you all these projected ownership numbers for the main DFS slate. So if you're not already an all-pro member, you got to go over there, sign up. You get 50% off the first 6 months right now at code NFL50. You'll get access to that draft percentage forecaster. Coop, Burrow or Jimmy G today?
Yeah, we give it to you, all of it, over at Fantasy Alarm. Like John said, you go down to the chalk district, right? You have Joe Burrow out front, the storefront. He's one of the popular ones. But then you go to John's contrarian corner, which is kind of like the back alley. And that's where Jimmy G's hanging out with the brass knuckles. Good matchup. Just added a great pass catching back. They have 2 good wide receivers and a tight end. I think what I do in that situation, lean into what you're doing. We're talking DFS. If we're talking outright, I'm starting Burrow. But in DFS, play with the money a little bit. If you can, choose quarterback last, or if you want to lean into a stack, go that way. But if you're just picking a standalone guy, I'm just going to go Jimmy G and take the extra cash, right?
Yeah, the way I would approach it and the way I have approached it with some lineup builds here where I've used Garoppolo is I've actually still taken Chase, right? I've taken Garoppolo and I've still put Chase in my lineup to get some of that exposure to that game. So if Burrow has a good day, that's fine. Hopefully Chase is the one catching those touchdowns and you're still getting those points there. Big Mac in chat wants to know, he dropped Drake and Gus for Pacheco. You dropped 2 guys for Pacheco. Would you have kept Kenyon Drake or Gus Edwards for Pacheco? Probably not, right? Would you rather Pacheco, Drake, or Gus?
Yeah, if you dropped them all, I imagine what happened is you had to move Gus out of the IR spot, so you dropped him, and then you dropped Drake for Pacheco. But I think I'd rather have Pacheco, just because not only could it get dicey with Drake and Gus, but Lamar Jackson is also a monster threat at the goal line, much more than Patrick Mahomes. So I think I'd rather have Pacheco right now.
Yeah, I would rather have Pacheco again. Just think about the team that they're on now. I understand, obviously, that the Ravens are going to score a lot as well. But, when they get in the red zone, Lamar generally tends to take them, or Mark Andrews tends to get a lot of that. You're going to need Drake or Gus Edwards to be scoring from outside the 20s. Gus Edwards isn't that kind of running back, and then they're more of a split. Pacheco can do it all too. That's what I'm very interested in. Does CEH now become the 3rd down back, and does Jerick McKinnon just get kicked off to the curb? Or is Pacheco a guy who can do it all? does he become that guy that can do it all? Like they were almost using Clyde Edwards-Helaire at times.
I think that's what Andy Reid has always wanted. That's always been the MO. Matt Nagy's always done it that way as well. I know he's back in an advisory role. Like that's what they want. They want Brian Westbrook. They want Jamal Charles. They want Kareem Hunt. They want to have one guy that does it all and another guy behind him that also does it all. That's the ideal setup for this team. So I think that is within the range of outcomes. So I'm super interested in that. In the YouTube chat, we've got a couple so far. John, Isaiah Pacheco, would you drop Donta Foreman for him or would you hold Foreman?
Yeah, no, you take Pacheco.
The Panthers are actively trying to lose. They just traded away arguably the best running back in the world. So, you can't really bank on that team to do anything. So Mondre Stevenson or CMC, John? Mondre's got Damian Harris coming back, which is a little dicey, but CMC, they already said he probably only is going to have a limited package.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with Mondre Stevenson here.
Yeah, he's been awesome. He looked awesome last week.
Yeah.
Go put Ramondre in your lineup and go check out those highlights from the Browns game, and you'll feel a lot better about it. Gesicki or Cade Otton? I'll take this one. 16 man. Got to start Cade Otton. I want to see if Durham Smythe is out, but Durham Smythe plays tight end for that team. Gesicki mixes in the slot with Trent Sherfield. He doesn't play a full snap share. I don't trust it. I just can't. John, Damian Pierce or Amon-Ra St. Brown in the flex? Guys in the chat, both chats, please at least tell us half PPR, full PPR standard. Right. It makes a world of difference, especially with guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jacoby Myers, these low ADOT guys. So, John, let's assume half PPR. Damian Pierce or Amon-Ra?
Damian Pierce.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's where I'm going there.
It's the Raiders. You can run on the Raiders.
Yeah. That's it's kind of how I'm feeling about it as well there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously we know what his upside can be, and there's a good chance that at least for one or two plays he burns Trayvon Diggs there, but you still got to think that you got to lean the edge to Pierce. He's just been too good.
Yeah, he's been too good. Okay, let me hit a few more here. Drop Drake London for Isaiah Pacheco. Would you do it?
I would have to know what the rest of your wide receivers look like, but probably. Again, I you and I talked about it. I haven't been high on the Falcons' passing offense from the very beginning. Right. It still doesn't look great. Kyle Pitts finally got another touchdown last week, but if London is like your wide receiver 3 or 4, yeah, I would rather a guy with an RB1 upside. So sure, if that's how you have to handle it.
We dog the Bears, who are throwing 19 times a game. The Falcons are throwing 22 times a game. Not far off, man. Not far off at all. Right. And you have to go back to like 2004, like Seahawks, to find a team throwing that little. Like teams don't throw less than 25 times a game in the modern era. Like it hasn't happened since the Jets in like somewhere 2004 or 5. And like you have to go back to the Seahawks way back then to get down to like 22. So these teams either need to throw more or they're just not going to be interesting for fantasy football.
Yeah.
No, would you drop Pitts for in the same vein? Would you drop Pitts for Dulcich? We got a guy, you got to start him this week too. Goddard's on a bye. That's what CH Chom in the chat wants to know.
Would I drop?
I don't think I would.
No.
I'll tell you right now, I don't think I would. Because Kyle Pitts, like you talk about what I just said, Kyle Pitts does have a 23% target share. He's getting 23% of the minimal targets. If they actually start playing like a real team, Kyle Pitts is going to start looking good. I have hope that these guys regress to the mean and they start throwing more.
I agree with you. I don't think that I would. I don't think I would make that move again. Like he looked really great. Dulcich, obviously, like in terms of snap share. He's only targeted 3 times, right? And he was wide open on the touchdown. A lot of people are like, oh, he made a big play touchdown. I'm like, he didn't really make a play. Yeah. Like the defense just sort of lost him and he scored, right? So like, it's the whole Dawson Knox thing that you kept on talking about last year. It's like, look at Dawson Knox touchdowns and look at his big game. It's like they literally didn't cover him. He was wide open. It was, it can't be, if he was like 8 targets and he was looking like Gronk out there, I'd be like, yeah, great. But no, they just
contested catch. I'd like to see a contested catch first, right?
Yeah,
just one.
Yeah. Let him see it. Show me him beat a linebacker, which I don't think he will because he's got like 4.7 speed. Like that's the one thing with Dulcich. They label him as like a pure pass catching tight end, and Coop, obviously you're the tight end guru here, but looking at some of his measurables and all those things, like he doesn't have like elite size for a tight end, right? He's like 6'4", 240. And then he doesn't have elite speed for a tight end either. It's not like he's running 4.6. He's running 4.7. He doesn't like all of his player profile stuff is like mid, I'm like, so what are we excited about other than like the tight end position sucks so bad that like any new blood, we're like, yay, finally another guy that will give us 6 fantasy points a week, Like,
it's the rookie fever, man. It's that you see the rookies and you're like, ooh, shiny, right? He could be anything, but in the reality, he's kind of just like he's like slow Evan Engram. That's basically what his profile is, So here's a quintessential question for today, John. This is such a today question. Archie Hancock asked Chuba Hubbard, Kenyon Drake, or James Robinson.
Chuba Hubbard,
can't start Chuba.
Drake or James Robinson.
That to me is Drake or Robinson.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Drake because I don't know. Listen, I was as big on him on James Robinson as anybody earlier in the year, but the game scripts have started to go away. And when we get in the game by game breakdown, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more with you, Coop. But I don't really understand the spread of that game where.
Yeah, that's Vegas just calling the Giants frauds, right?
The 5-1 Giants are road underdogs to the 2-4 Jacksonville Jaguars today. So
Vegas is just saying it. They're willing to say it straight up. They're saying this Giants team is a bunch of frauds. Like, that's what that line is.
Yeah, so that one confuses me a little bit here. Get in the game again in our Bettor Sports chat. And again, guys, if you want to cut that line, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Discord, you want to cut the line, go download the Bettor Sports Network app. It's free to join. Hit join show. Get in the Bettor Sports Network at chat and put your questions in there. We'll answer them ahead of everybody else. So no better time than now. It's free, Coop. Like it's free. There's no reason not to do it. You can wait in line, or for absolutely free, you can cut the line. Why would you wait in line? It doesn't really make any sense. So get in the game. What's in a Romeo Doubs or Hunter Renfrow today in a full PPR?
I got to go with Romeo Doubs, man. The guy is playing legitimately every snap for this team. It's Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs playing every snap. And then, we have Randall Cobb's out, Christian Watson's out, they don't really have a whole lot else. So I'm definitely going
They activated Sammy Watkins, which I guess is maybe the one possible hang up there, but like, it's Sammy Watkins, right? Like I don't think we're expecting much there. Yeah, Doubs has a great matchup against Washington. They're allowing the 5th most receiving yards to wide receivers this year. They've allowed the 2nd most touchdowns to wide receivers this year. Doubs is going to be popular in DFS today, I think, at his price point. For the Renfrow point, Darren Waller is out. Hollins is questionable. It is a great matchup against Houston Texans, but I think they're just going to run the football a lot today. So
get in the game. That question is from Tommy. Get in the game. He's also an unapologetic Raiders homer. I can see you vouching for your boy Renfrow a little bit there, but it's got to be Doubs, man, with the upside. He just runs higher A-dot routes. He's more exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you there as well. So again, guys, you got to stay with us for the show today. Throughout the day, Bettor Sports Network's going to have you covered here. After us from 11 to 1. We have Front Yard Fantasy with Simon, Joey, and JL from 1 to 5. Bettor Zone with Corey, Adam, and Tom. And then again from 5 to 8, Bettor Zone with Holden Kushner and Greg Leonard. So no reason to get out of the app today, but you got to download the app to get involved with the show. Again, you got to go to your iTunes, Google Play Store, download the Bettor Sports Network app, and you can take advantage of everything that's going on there today as well. So again, no reason to leave. Big Sunday, week 7. Coop and I are going to be here to answer all of your questions. We're going to do some game by game breakdowns. Coop, some of the other top stories for today when we're talking about players that are returning. Dak Prescott coming back for the Dallas Cowboys today. What are your thoughts on his return? Are you excited to put him in your lineups right away, against Detroit, or how are you approaching this?
Yeah, I am. I have a lot of teams where I had Dak, and we've kind of picked up guys along the way that we've used, but there's not anybody that's just been really like rock solid. Like Geno Smith has been pretty good, but had a pretty down week last week. So you thought you found the answer there. I'm not quite sure. Carson Wentz, I have a few for Phil, and he's not even playing. Like all these guys that you were trying to pick up, Jared Goff has been kind of up and down. So it's like I'm pumped to get Dak Prescott in there. I have him at the QB1 range. I'm just putting him right. But with that, why don't we get into our game previews? Just for anyone that's just jumping in now, this is how we roll. Some places They just answer start sits. Some places just talk about the games. They don't engage with the audience. We give you the best of both. We're going to talk about these games. We see your start sit questions in the chat. For instance, right now, I know Mark asked one about that had Jamal Williams in it. We're going to talk about the Lions game right now, the Lions-Cowboys game. And when we get to the first applicable game for your player, we're going to hit those questions. So all we ask is that you hang with us. We're going to talk about the games. We're going to talk about fantasy. We're going to talk about gambling. You're going to get all of it. So let's get into it right now, John. Let's hit that Lions-Cowboys game.
Sure. Lions are given 6.5. It's a 48.5 game total. I asked you what your thoughts on Dak Prescott. How does that impact how you view the offense now with Dallas? Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz today, both running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. They all had great matchups today because they're going up the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, this Cowboys team, I think they can be great. You know, the Eagles have been really good, but I think the Cowboys still are in the mix to win this division. The defense has been keeping them alive. And then now it's all coming together at the right time for this team. Dak Prescott's back. Dalton Schultz was a full participant all week, including Wednesday. Michael Gallup, full participant all week. Like, it's wheels up for this team. Even with the 6.5 point spread, I think the Cowboys are going to obliterate the Lions today. So I'm willing to take the Cowboys.
I see no. Well, I guess there's always a possibility, but I don't really see the Lions being able to compete here. We saw them, that great offense. It went and got shut down by the Patriots, in their game, and now they're going up against the Dallas team. I will say this. Very interesting matchup that I want to watch today is the fact that the Dallas Cowboys lead the NFL in sacks, despite the fact that they played like one less game than everybody, right? So,
right.
And now we have the Lions, who have allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. So, what gives today? Is the Lions' offensive line holding up against the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, it's a good line, but it's not just like one guy doing all of it. Like, it's Micah Parsons is great, but DeMarcus Lawrence is also awesome. Like, they're coming at you from a lot of directions here. I bet you they get to Jared Goff a couple times today.
Their prop today is 3 sacks. Would you go over or under the 3 sacks?
I think that's a good line by Vegas. Those cowards. But I think if I was gonna bet one, as a neutral party that believes in this team and this defense, I would bet the over. It's a lot more fun to bet the over than the under. If it comes down to it, that's the way I'm going. I wish it was 2.5 though. If it was 2.5, I would be in. I think at 3, I'm probably just not gonna. I'm gonna stay away. But if you really feel the need, I would definitely expect over rather than under. And we do have a couple questions.
Justin sacked just 7 times today. You mentioned already the question there with Jamal Williams, CMC. How are you going there? You probably go Jamal
Swift
Williams, right?
Yeah, with Swift out, I'm going Jamal Williams. He's the de facto starting running back for this team. And CMC, like, think about it this way: like CMC, they say they're going to mix him in, like, they'll have a specific package for him, but he's not going to get all the work. Like, give me the guy that, as crazy as it sounds. And Mark said this in the chat. He said, "I can't believe I'm asking this question," right? But Jamal Williams, CMC, and I think it would be Jamal Williams. So.
Yep, I agree with you there as well. Other question we have, a full PPR, Michael Gallup or A.J. Dillon. Coop, I got to be honest with you. In leagues where I had some bye weeks or some injury issues, I actually dropped A.J. Dillon this week. This is a guy whose snap share has decreased each week. His involvement in the offense has been going down. It was down to a point where it's like, okay, I either don't start something this week, which you never want to do. You never want to just not have a spot. And I didn't have any other real cuttable players. So A.J. Dillon was a guy, he became a backup running back. He became an Alexander Madison, basically, right? With a slightly more volume. And I dumped him. So I think I'm playing Gallup today over Dillon.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's, Gallup was full participant. He's the number 2 wide receiver on that team. And like you said, A.J. Dillon, for anyone that drafted him, like, you can't really be upset because you drafted a backup running back and he's a backup running back. So, in some situations, you probably still got to start him, but I'm also not opposed to dropping him if you need a guy that you can actually put in your lineup. So, Dylan from the chat, go with Gallup in that one, full PPR.
Yep, I agree with you there 100%. So, Coop, when you and I get back, we're going to answer more of your questions. We're going to go ahead and we're going to continue our game breakdowns. But even better, we love giving away free things, and the Bettor Sports Network is going to be giving away prizes again throughout the week. over here on the Better Sports Network. You can win an authentic Dallas Cowboys Alvin Harper signed jersey or an authentic San Francisco 49ers John Taylor signed jersey. To help us determine the NFL's better franchise, Dallas or San Francisco, show your fandom in a tweet using the hashtag Corey's Cowboys and tag @Bettor Network or Henry's 49ers and Bettor Network. We'll select the most passionate fans. The show will during Monday's edition of Corey, Nando, and Friends at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Better Sports Network. So no better time, Coop, than having an opportunity to win a jersey with the show there on Monday. So got to be part of it. You got to download the Better Sports Network app, iTunes, Google Play, to have an opportunity to win either a Dallas Cowboys jersey or a San Francisco 49ers jersey using the hashtags Corey's Cowboys or Henry's 49ers at the Better Sports Network. Coop, again, when you and I get back, we'll continue breaking down games, top stories, and answering your questions. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Rick Kamla. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on Better Sports Network.
Andy Reid is the best current coach in the NFL. He's better than Belichick. Belichick has lost his way. He's better than Tomlin. He's better than Harbaugh. He's better than Shanahan. He's better than McCarthy down in Dallas. He's better than all of the gangster NFL coaches right now. Sean McDermott up in Buffalo, he's better than all these guys. Andy Reid is the greatest gangster that we have at head coach in the NFL right now. And I understand that you're saying, well, Belichick is the GOAT, Cam. How can that be true? Now you're bringing up old stuff. Bill Belichick can't draft anymore, okay? Talk to me. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Talk to me. DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel versus N'Keal Harry. Okay, talk to me. This dude has lost his way. Remember the year when he should have bottomed out and just tanked, but he couldn't, and he went and got Cam Newton, and they were a mediocre team, right? He's lost his way. And not that he can't coach up a good defense and that kind of thing, but overall, he's lost his way. Andy Reid's an absolute badass. They draft great. He's a great coach, makes the right decisions, when to go for it, when to kick, when to punt. The guy's the man.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I hate the stupid unsportsmanlike conduct. As long as you're not disrespectful to the opponent, you should be allowed to celebrate.
How I used to say it, and to bring up, because now basketball story, I'm going to bring up.
Oh, dude, it's even worse than basketball, isn't it?
So Dikembe Mutombo, who used to get teed up in the 2000s, the 90s, they didn't give a crap. 2000s, though, when they tightened up the rules, they used to tee him up more when he did the Dikembe finger wag. But they wouldn't tee him up if he did it to the crowd instead of looking at, like, Eton Thomas, like one time I remember, and doing it right to him, or when his back was turned, doing it right to him. If he did it to the crowd, they would never call it. And so that makes me wonder if these players, while, yeah, they want to talk a little smack, maybe they should flex towards the crowd than at the player who they're standing over.
I guess.
I know it's soft, man.
It is soft.
Because you know what?
Like we're gonna give 15 yards for that,
bro. They think that, you know, want to know why they're paranoid? They think that's gonna turn into a fight.
See, I disagree with that. That's not going to start a fight.
I agree with you. They don't agree with us.
It's one thing, okay, if you spit in someone's face or say something derogatory, like about their family or something,
right,
yeah, that can incite it. But if you're just like, yeah, I made that play, what? You know what I mean? Like, again, they know the rules. You got to know you're going to get flagged. You have to have discipline. But, like, I don't know. I have no problem with celebration as long as it's not disrespectful.
What's disrespectful? You know,
it's interpretation, and that's my problem. Watch, it's going to cost someone in a big playoff game, and that's when people are going to go crazy. There'll be a third down play. Someone makes a pass breakup, and they're in someone's face. They're going to throw a flag. It'll extend the drive. That team scores, wins the playoff game because of it. You need something drastic for it to really leave an imprint, and I hope that doesn't happen to my team.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. The Game Day Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm here on the Better Sports Network. We have a lot to get to, Coop. Again, week 7 of the NFL season is here. Questions are coming in fast and heavy. Again, if you want to cut the line over on YouTube, over in Discord, go download the free Better Sports Network app in your iTunes or Google Play Store. Sign up, join the show, and get your questions put directly into our chat like Swansea Sea Snakes. He's at a work conference all day. Tough to be on a work conference on an NFL Sunday. But he wants to know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and DK Metcalf, listen, you've been in a work conference all day, so maybe you haven't seen the news. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs today. CEH getting bumped and maybe to at least a third down role. You got to go with DK Metcalf today in this matchup against the Chargers.
100%. Yeah, Skins. That's my buddy Nick Skinner there, Swansea Sea Snakes. He can't start Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this environment, at least until we see what this looks like with Isaiah Pacheco. And I just mentioned it to everybody in the chat on YouTube, but just want to mention again, we're going to hit all the games. We want to make sure we get the game previews in for the just pure NFL fans. I just want to talk about the games for the bettors. And we're also going to answer your questions. We're going to take the questions you ask in the chat. We're going to move them into the show sheet. So, right now we're going to get to the Colts and Titans, and we've got a couple questions on that from the YouTube. So all we ask is you hang with us on that. If you do want to skip the line, download the Bettor Sports app. Ask the question in the chat there or call in. We'll throw you right on and you can skip the line. That's the way to do it. Download the Bettor Sports app and get in. But we will get to all the questions on YouTube. Just hang with us. Once we get to the first game that involves your player from your question, we'll hit it. So,
yeah,
John,
listen, Colts Titans, yeah, they're Colts are 2.5-point home favorites, 41.5 game total. Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines are returning here for the Colts. For obviously a big spot here. Derrick Henry. Both these teams off of bye weeks. Derrick Henry ran for over 100 yards in a score against the Colts in their first meeting already this season. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Where is the top stories for you here?
Not even just the first game did Derrick Henry play well, but Derrick Henry destroys the Colts. It seems like the Colts and Jaguars, he always crushes them. He has 6 100-yard games against the Colts, which is the most of any active player. But even more impressive, in 5 of the last 6 games, he's at 100 yards. So Derrick Henry props might be the way to go, especially with, Shaq Leonard's out again. I'm pretty sure Kwity Paye from Michigan is out again. So it could be a Derrick Henry day. And we did get a question. Now that we're on Colts and Titans, Spencer Butler in the chat asked Brandon Ayuk today or Alec Pierce. John, who are you feeling out of those two?
I want to go probably Ayuk just for the game matchup there. I understand CMC's there. I do. But we've seen Ayuk now find the end zone in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He had 2 touchdowns last week, so I want to kind of continue to roll that momentum out. I think this is going to be kind of a shootout here. A lot of the focus defensively will be on Deebo Samuel, will be on George Kittle. But Ayuk, with Jimmy Garoppolo, we saw at the end of last year, really developed a good chemistry with him. So I am kind of a fan of that matchup there today. Excuse me, there today. So that's where I would go with that one.
I'm fully on board with you. I'm an Alec Pierce fan. I wanted him to get that second role opposite of Michael Pittman. I thought he was getting there with his performances. I thought they were going to switch it and have Paris Campbell play the partial snap share, have Alec Pierce play the full snap share. What did the Colts do last week? They rolled out Paris Campbell for 100% of the snaps. They ran 81 offensive plays. He played all 81, which Alec Pierce is coming out of the game for 2 wide receiver sets. That's the difference between these 2 players for me. Brandon Ayuk plays the whole game. Alec Pierce only plays part of it. Got to start.
Yeah, Pierce still had a good week last week, but I just like sort of the game flow a little bit better. Just touching on some more of these questions that we have in our YouTube channel here, because we've talked about some of these players already. Stevie J wants to know Rachaad White or Isaiah Pacheco today in a PPR league.
Yeah, got to go with Isaiah Pacheco. It's no longer a situation where they're both backups. Isaiah Pacheco is the starter now. Rachaad White is more of a handcuff plus, if that. Probably more of just a pure handcuff where he needs Leonard Fournette to get hurt to have value. Isaiah Pacheco is the guy now. So Pacheco's the dude.
Yeah, Robbie, this one's a pretty obvious one for me. He wants to know Pacheco, Michelle, or Bolden today. You got to go Pacheco. That's not even a real question in my opinion. You got to go Pacheco there.
As the Big Lebowski says, new information has come to light on Isaiah Pacheco. He is now the starter. So for me, anybody that's splitting carries goes on the back burner compared to Isaiah Pacheco. And for me, it could go as high as Tony Pollard or Kareem Hunt. He's the starter and they're not. So
I agree with you 100% on that one. We got another question here from Jim Coop. You need to start 2 running backs in a flex. Latavius Murray, Donta Foreman, who we talked about, Kenny and Drake, who we've talked about, Jeff Wilson, Sony Michel, or Allen Robinson, 2 RBs in a flex, Coop.
Man, that is tough, dude. As a fellow Coop, I will say my condolences to your Jeff Wilson share. Hard to predict that they were going to trade for one of the best running backs in the world. But that did happen. For me, I'm starting Kenyon Drake. He looked really good. I'm not sure if he's always been fast, but he looks a little bit faster. We're in number 17 over there. So I would get him in there. And Oh, dude, this is tough because I would say Latavius Murray, but then Nathaniel Hackett came around and said he had a good conversation with Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon was pretty sad. They put a clown emoji up on his face on the Jumbotron last week, his former team. So they're going to give him another shot there. I think you got to get Drake in there. And I kind of like the idea of Donta Foreman, at least being the starter, getting the full role. Out of those other guys, who you trust in most?
Yeah, I mean, he
Latavius
looked at Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson's actually on a bye this week, so that one doesn't actually work. So yeah,
No.
I guess you're gonna go Murray, Foreman. You know what? I would still play Jeff Wilson. Go Foreman,
Yeah.
Drake, and Wilson there. I think that's where
That's the
I would
play.
go. Pacheco or Foreman from Kevin Romano.
Pacheco, better offense. Like the thing about Foreman, sure, it's exciting and you got to sneak him on your roster when no one was paying attention.
Right.
But that is the
Still
worst
not
team in the league. The worst team in the league. And they're trying to be the worst team in the league now. They're openly and notoriously tanking for the first pick. So
Yep. Wan'Dale
Pacheco's-
Robinson, Bateman, or Reynolds from Kevin here.
Ooh, that is so. Josh Reynolds might not play. I'm not. We need an update on that. If you're hanging around, you should hang around with us all day. I'm going to be hanging around even when I'm not on the show. I like to hang out in the chat. At 11:30, we get the official actives and inactives. JL, Simon, and Joey Wright will be breaking those on the next show at 11:30. But Josh Reynolds, I don't know if he's going to play today, so that makes that question difficult. If he is playing, he would probably be the guy I want. Otherwise, I want Bateman. Wan'Dale Robinson, fun, exciting, but he only played 15 of 60 snaps last week. And if he didn't score the touchdown, we wouldn't be talking about it.
You got to think that increases, though, right? That was his first game.
But how far does it increase, John?
I mean, I don't think you invest a high draft pick on him. It was his first game back. Like, I would, if he got the 50% snap share today, I would still probably consider playing him. So
you do think
coming back from a foot injury, right? So I mean,
Okay, so are you going Wan'Dale of that crew? Are you getting crazy? Crazy?
I think I'm going to go Wan'Dale because I think he's going to play more today.
All right. Well, if you need that extra juice in your lineup, you're feeling crazy, go Wan'Dale. If you feel boring like myself, then start Josh Reynolds if he's active or Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. Last question before we go back to game previews here, Coop, Greg McDonald, CMC or Drake and a half PPR.
That's crazy that we're living in that world right now. So you got CMC, which they say he's going to have a red zone, end zone package. And of course, he's going to get sporadic carries throughout the game. Right. And then you have Kenyon Drake, who's the starter, but they have the red zone, end zone package of Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson. So in PPR, I think half PPR. Great. I think I'm in that situation. I would go CMC, John. I don't know. What do you think?
Yep. I'm going to agree with you there. I think I would go CMC because, again, we think they're only going to use him in limited packages, but who knows, right? Like they just acquired this guy. I'm sure some of the plays. I think he'll be on the field, so I would go that direction there. Back to game previews. Packers, Commanders. Commanders are at home getting 4.5 to 41.5 game total. No Christian Watson, no Randall Cobb, no Jahan Dotson today either for in terms of players that are ruled out for this one. We're expecting a return from Sammy Watkins. Logan Thomas is out. Diami Brown is out. How are you approaching this Commanders-Packers game?
Yeah, I mean, I like, Diami Brown and Logan Thomas and Jahan Dotson all being out. Jahan Dotson practiced Wednesday and Thursday in a limited capacity, and then all of a sudden was out on Friday. So potentially a setback there, which you never like to hear. But that really consolidates the situation. So I'm starting Terry McLaurin where I have him, starting Curtis Samuel where I have him. I'm throwing Cole Turner at the bare minimum price on every platform. I looked it up, Yahoo, FanDuel, DraftKings, bare minimum, whatever it is. Cole Turner, kind of an interesting play now. I'm not sure. We got to keep an eye on John Bates, but I don't think Bates really even threatens that. So he's a nice little dart throw. And then, of course, the running backs, Brian Robinson is the one guy you can trust. McKissick may be in a full PPR, but now that Antonio Gibson is kind of splitting with McKissick, that's kind of ugly. So Brian Robinson, probably the guy I like there. On the Packers side, John, how you feeling about these pass catchers? With Watson and Cobb out, it's also kind of consolidated, right?
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. Again, I know that we haven't been very high on this Packers offensively, and obviously for good reason. They haven't looked great, but Alan Lazard has 4 touchdown catches in 5 weeks that he's been on the field for, and we're talking about a Commanders defense. They've allowed 8 receiving touchdowns this year, second most in football. They've allowed the 5th most receiving yards to wide receivers in football. Lazard has 8 targets or more in 3 straight games. A lot of people assumed he'd be the wide receiver 1 coming into this year when he was be ready to go. And over the last 3 weeks, he has assumed that role as the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay.
Yep, he's locked in there. We got a few questions in the chat pertinent to this game. Like we said, get your questions in the chat. We're going to hit these game previews so we can give you the info you need, and we're going to hit your questions that are relevant when they come up. So Brian Mallory on the YouTube asks, run CMC or JD McKissick here? That's a couple cute options. I would. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go McCaffrey here.
Yeah, you got to. If you're just going to go for a guy that has a limited package, you might as well go for Christian McCaffrey. Right. Another one comes in. Yeah, another one from the YouTube. Matthew Vitelli. Who do I flex? Robert Tunyon in this game, or Tyler Boyd, or Josh Reynolds, who is questionable. I'm looking for an update on him. Heather, producer, if you could check it out, let us know if you can find anything on Josh Reynolds there, whether he's in or out today. But Tyler Boyd, Josh Reynolds, or Robert Tunyon, full PPR, assuming they're all playing.
I think you have to go Tunyon, right? 10 targets last game, right?
I agree. I think with Randall Cobb and Christian Watson out, that changes the game for me, because he was playing. The thing with Tunyon that I didn't like, besides the fact that he's not super athletic or, that he doesn't really create for himself, I didn't like that he was only running about 50% of the routes per dropback. Last week, that jumped up to 70. He's getting ramped up from the ACL. He's a familiar face for the quarterback. So I think you got to go Tunyon there.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there as well. Let's go and moving on to the next game here. We have the New York Giants versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is a 3-point home favorite, a 43.5 game total. We talked about it, Coop. Why on earth are the 5-1 New York Giants road underdogs to the Jacksonville Jaguars today? Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay are out. Marvin Jones, Jamal Agnew are questionable for Jacksonville here. How are we approaching what Vegas, I think, is trying to tell us in this game?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, Vegas is kind of, if I'm a Giants fan, I look at that line, you woke up with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, right? Like your team wins all these games, and then the
Vegas Giants money line today, I think, right? Like if you're
I think you got to, dude. I think you got to. And it's like, you win all these games, and then Vegas comes out and calls you a fraud. That's bulletin board material, if you ask me. If I'm Dable over there, I'm putting that up on the board. I'm letting everybody know, hey, you guys won 5 games. And the nerds over at Vegas with their spreadsheets think you're going to lose to the Jaguars, right? So I think that's an opportunity to make some money betting on the Jags there. We talked about Wan'Dale Robinson. He's the most exciting player for the Giants. None of these Giants wide receivers even have 200 yards, which is wild for a 5-1 team, right? So that's pretty crazy. On the other side of the ball, Christian Kirk has been Jekyll and Hyde. He's doing his best Amari Cooper impression with big games and then just disappearing. Zay Jones, kind of interesting, kind of not. And then Evan Ingram, quietly 16 targets over the last 2 games. I'm starting Evan Ingram anywhere I have him, especially if it's full PPR, unless I have somebody amazing, unless I have like Mark Andrews or George Kittle. I mean, 16 targets over 2 games. What more can you really ask for in this world?
Yeah, you're talking about players getting ramped up. Is that what we're seeing out of Travis Etienne right now, or has it been a game flow where Jacksonville's been behind in these games and now Etienne's been on the field more? What are your expectations for this running back situation here moving forward?
That's been the case so far. I think it's still going to be the case to a certain degree. If the Jaguars do get out in front, I bet they use James Robinson a lot. But if you have Travis Etienne in your dynasty leagues and your redraft leagues, you're looking over there at Breece Hall, and you're kind of the guy behind the tree rubbing his hands together meme, right? Like like, well, Breece Hall, they let him loose, and look at what's happening. Right. Why don't they let my boy Travis loose? I'm feeling good about him in Dynasty. Obviously he knows the quarterback well. They played together in college, and they're finally ramping him up. I would love to see him get the full snap share. James Robinson's still a good player, so there's no reason to.
Yep, a couple of questions on this game here. Mr. Invincible wants to know pick 2. One has to be a running back. Rashad White, Michael Carter, Tyquan Thornton, or Marvin Jones. We mentioned Marvin Jones questionable to play today. How are you handling the 2 running backs, White or Carter? And then I think we like Tyquan Thornton here against the Bears.
We do like Tyquan Thornton. We do like Tyquan Thornton, and it's not just because we're both Patriots fans. We try to be as unbiased as possible, and for the most part, we steer you away from Patriots. That's the kind of team they are. But Tyquan Thornton, man, he looked electric. You saw that speed. Everyone talked about his combine.
Fastest 40 at the combine, 4.27.
Yeah. I mean, on that end around, you saw the speed, man. He was lightning. So that's the kind of guy I want in there over Marvin Jones, who not only is he kind of the third fiddle on this team? How many guys named Jones do they have over there on that offense, by the way, John? They have Marvin Jones and Zay Jones. And when Marvin Jones was out last week, they just reached in their bag and pulled out some guy named Tim Jones, who played 30 something snaps. Like they got Jones coming out of their ears over there. But yeah, I'm starting Tyquan Thornton. Out of the running backs, I like the idea of Rashad White, but he's not splitting. He had one game where he split, but for the most part, he's not splitting the way Michael Carter is. Michael Carter is getting a little bit more of the work compared to Breece Hall than White. I don't know, John.
Rashad White had that big game when Tampa Bay was down. They were behind the Chiefs, and they utilized him there. But this is, to me, a Lenny Fournette game all over it against Carolina today. So kind of how I'm looking at it. And then we got Roof Camper wants to know Christian Kirk, James Robinson, or Jamal Williams in a full PPR.
Christian Kirk. It's like even in the games where he doesn't do well, he plays the entire game. He's clearly the number one option on the team. Like the Hurricane game, he started the game getting 5 targets and catching none of them. That's kind of a fluke. And then he had the one bad game aside from that. But I'm still in on Christian Kirk, John. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. Our buddy Dan Schwartz, I don't know if this is a league that he's in with us, Coop, but he needs 2 of 3, Judy, Samuel, or Kirk in a full PPR.
I mean, dude, it doesn't matter. I'm terrible in that league. That is one of the toughest leagues I play in, like 14-man keeper league. Yeah. Like I can't catch a break in that league. I kept J.K. Dobbins, and I
kept Cam Akers. We both thought we were
being so smart. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that league is tough, man. That is a tough league. I'm starting Curtis Samuel in full PPR. He's been kind of a wagon in full PPR, and now they don't have Jahan Dotson. They don't have who's the other one that's out over? They don't have Logan Thomas.
Yeah,
they're missing a lot of pass catchers over there, so I'm going with him. And then John Judy or Christian Kirk. Judy, he has the second lowest catch rate of a qualified wide receivers. It's under 50%. The only guy with a worse catch rate is essentially DJ Moore. So Judy it's real tough for me right now with him, John. Which way are you going, Judy?
I'm gonna go Kirk and Samuel today as well. I love Jerry Judy. I honestly gotta do, but like Wilson hasn't been great, and now they got Ripien, and the play calling's been awful. So I mean, it's a great spot for him against the Jets. Like the Jets secondary is not great, but I don't know. Backup quarterback, like the offense again in shambles a bit there. I don't think I can go there.
I'm fully on board with you. Jerry Judy's a buy in Dynasty, but a sit in redraft.
Yep. Cool. We got some questions in the Bettor Sports chat here. Bettor Boss, what's up, Matt? He says he's got Davis Mills starting today against Las Vegas with Josh Allen on a bye. How are we feeling about Davis Mills today?
I mean, they're going to have to throw. And, the Derek Carr he did his best Bill Belichick impression laying out how this Texans team is better than their record. And I think they are. I think they've got some playmakers over there. And the Raiders, the Raiders are built like a fantasy football team. Sorry, Tommy, but like they have all the fun weapons, not a good offensive line. Defense has not been playing that well. So, those matchups usually lead to some good action. And we got Archie Hancock. Archie was over in the YouTube. It seems he's downloaded the app. Now he's in the app asking questions. So he gets to cut the line. Cut the line, ladies and gentlemen. Grab that Bettor Sports app. And if you want to call in, we'll throw you on. We'll take call-ins, video, whatever you want to do. We'll skip to your game. We're here for the people, John, right? So cut the line, get in here. Archie Hancock asking Kenyon Drake or Josh Reynolds full PPR.
I mean, we don't know the status on Reynolds yet, so that's a little bit tough.
We're trying to find it.
So assuming all are healthy, I would go Josh Reynolds.
Assuming everyone's healthy, Josh Reynolds. I mean, so that becomes really easy for you, Archie. If Josh Reynolds is playing, you start him. If he's not, you have Kenyon Drake, and you feel pretty good about that.
Yep. Our guy Loaf in chat wants to know Jamal Williams, Kareem Hunt, or Gus Edwards pick 2.
Jamal Williams, Kareem Hunt, or Gus Edwards. Jamal Williams, definitely, if I'm picking 2. He's the starting running back for that team right now. Kareem Hunt or Gus Edwards. I'm going Kareem Hunt. Got to see what Gus Edwards is. I mean, like they said originally that Gus Edwards was farther behind J.K. Dobbins, and then Dobbins came back too early. He's in trouble. So I don't know. I got to see it from Gus Edwards first. You can't. It's very difficult to go from a lower body injury to all of a sudden playing a large number of professional football snaps. That's the one that people forget is that you hear Shanahan talk about Brandon Ayuk last season. He wasn't ready to play football because he was not his conditioning wasn't up because he's coming off a leg injury. Like, how much conditioning does Gus Edwards have right now to go out there and, do combat there for 8 seconds at a time over and over and over?
He was never a full snap share guy anyway, so that's the other thing.
Wasn't.
Like, you need him to be getting red zone carries where he can score. So that's that. At least for now, that's how I approach it. And then 49ers forever. Kirk, Pierce, Gallup, or Wandale in a full PPR today.
Yeah, we know what side of we've had a recent debate on the Bettor Sports Network. Corey Parson and Nando DeFino did a full show on it the other day. Who's the better franchise? 49ers versus the Cowboys. I think we know what side 49ers forever lands on that. Stay tuned on this. They're giving away a autographed John Taylor 49ers jersey. So you definitely want to stay tuned with the Bettor Sports Network today. See if you can win that jersey. Of these guys, Kirk, Pierce, Gallup, I want to go, even though it's full PPR, I want to go with Dameon Pierce. He's been really good. I don't know, John. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I want to go Pierce, or I'll take my shot on Gallup. Just the big play downfield potential with Dak Prescott back is super intriguing to me today. So that if you want the high floor, you go Dameon Pierce. If you want a potentially high ceiling, Michael Gallup is probably the direction to take that one there. So
you need that extra juice, right?
Yeah, need the extra juice, exactly. So guys, again, remember, if you want to get your questions answered first, you want to cut that line, go to the iTunes store, go to the Google Play store, download the Bettor Sports app, sign up. It's free. Join the show. You get in our chat, and then you can put your questions in there, and you cut the priority. We're answering your questions on YouTube. We're getting to you over in Discord. We're getting you in the Bettor Sports Network chat, but your questions will be answered first in the Bettor Sports Network chat. So go there, download the app like our friend Archie Hancock did. He got his question answered before you did. So if you want to be Archie, download the app, get involved.
We love you all, and we're going to answer all your questions. But if you download the Bettor Sports app and support us, we love you a little bit more. Throw a little 5 stars on there for the boys. You get your questions answered first. Everyone gets their questions answered theirs a little bit sooner. We're going to keep doing these game previews too, to make sure, anybody out there in a survivor pool, anybody out there looking to bet props, we're talking everything today. So let's hit the next game, John. What do you got?
Buccaneers, Panthers. Well, this one will be quick. Panthers are getting 13.5. It's down to a 38.5 game total. CMC has been traded. Starter's likely going to be Donta Foreman. Chuba Hubbard is going to see some snaps there as well. Julio Jones and Cameron Brate are out. How are we handling this matchup? We were expecting blowouts. Do you even, you have to play him obviously in seasonal, but what are your expectations for this game?
John, have you ever seen a line quite like this? Usually when a team's 13.5 favorites, the line's at least over 40. Basically, this line, they're saying the Panthers just lie down and don't score any points, right? This is it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild that 13.5, because so the implied, even though with the low over under, the implied points for the Buccaneers is high, right? It's 25 or something like that. So this is set to be a trouncing. For gambling, I think I'm staying away. It's just too weird of a matchup. I don't know, John. Are you willing to dabble in this? I mean, the score could be 17-0. But
the one thing is this: Tom Brady is going to throw the football until they get a lead, and then he's probably going to throw more. But at some point, they are just going to step off the pedal here. I think the fact that they lost last week against Pittsburgh, it's a good spot for them to kind of get right and get back on track. So, if you want to be contrarian in DFS this week and you want to throw Mike Evans in a lineup or something like that, I'm fine with it. I think Fournette's going to be fairly popular today because they're just going to kind of run out the clock on him. And Fournette in the passing game, I think he leads the running backs in receptions this year. So, he's a great DFS play there as well. We got a few questions on this game. You're the tight end whisperer, Cade Otton or Pat Freiermuth and a half PPR.
That's a tough one because I like Freiermuth. He's as safe as it gets, but Cade Otton is an absolute smash situation this week. I mean, when I said it earlier on the show, when Cameron Brate is out, Cade Otton's the guy. Last time Cameron Brate was out was week 5. Cade Otton played 94% of the snaps, 74 of 79 snaps, had 7 targets, caught 6 of them. I think in this case, I'm still starting Freiermuth, but what you really should do is start Freiermuth for the safety and then go make a DFS lineup with Cade Otton. He's like $2,700 on DraftKings, and just root for both players today. So I'd go with the safe guy in Freiermuth, but you got a good job picking up Otton so that your opponent can't use him against you, and throw him in a DFS lineup.
Right. Tyson Carter, Jalen Waddle, or Chris Godwin and a half PPR.
first advice, go and try and do a 2-for-1 trade. If you got one of those guys on your bench, try and do a 2-for-1 for like Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp or something.
That's like a 2 wide receiver league right there, right? That's what he's dealing with.
Yeah, that's serious. I think given the matchup, I don't think that the Buccaneers necessarily need to throw heavily today. I think I would go with.
Are you worried about the Waddle injury at all? I know he's questionable.
Oh, he is. Oh well, in that case, I didn't realize he's questionable. Look at me.
I saw that he has some practice limitations. Maybe that's since been updated. The problem is again that they're the Sunday night football game, so we don't have like Waddle's questionable. I think he hurt his knee or something like that. So I don't think it's anything serious. I think he's expected to play, but yeah, you never know. He goes through pregame warm-up, and so if you don't have a backup for Waddle, I almost think you have to play Chris Godwin today just in case.
Yeah, not seeing any updates. In fact, one of the top things that comes up here is how are there no updates right now on Jalen Waddle? So I'm with you, John.
Yeah, I agree there. And then again in our chat, Alan Lazard or Amari Cooper in a full PPR.
Yes, Preston downloaded the app, got involved. Let's go. Alan Lazard or Amari Cooper in a full PPR. I think the thing is, if it wasn't for that one kind of rough game for Amari Cooper, we would love Amari Cooper. So I think I'm still in on Amari Cooper given the upside that we've seen from him. Like he can go out and he's got a touchdown in pretty much every game. He's got 2. He's classic Amari Cooper. Touchdowns in like every game except for one game with 1 catch for 9 yards, one game with 3 catches for 17 yards. But the Patriots, they have the number 1 graded cornerback in the league in Jack Jones, and he made it very difficult on Amari, who got a lot of targets, only caught 4 of them, but he still managed to score. So I think there's a better matchup for Amari. I'm going with Amari here.
Yep, I agree with you there 100%. All right, let's get this last game recap in, and then we're going to be joined by Justin Fensterman of Fantasy Alarm of the Playbook during the week, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 on Bettor Sports Network. He's going to come in here, give us some of his favorite plays and props. We have the Browns versus the Ravens. Ravens giving 6.5. It's a 45.5 game total here, Coop. No J.K. Dobbins having surgery, out 4 to 6 weeks. Mark Andrews missed most of this week with a knee injury, but it looks like he's going to be ready to go. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens on paper look like a really bad pass defense, but they're probably not as bad as the numbers show, just because they did have that one game versus the Dolphins that was just like, Tua threw like 5-6 touchdowns, whatever it was just crazy. That probably skewed the numbers a little bit, but even then, they don't really have a shutdown guy. So I like Amari Cooper. I like David Njoku. We love Nick Chubb, obviously. And then Kareem Hunt. If you have Kareem Hunt on your fantasy team, if you drafted him, you know what he is, and you pretty much know when to deploy him, right? Like if you don't have anything better, you use him. If you have anything with higher upside, you go with that play. So that's how I'm feeling on that side. On the Ravens side, it's Mark Andrews, assuming he's playing. I know he's been banged up a little bit, so I wouldn't pay for him in DFS, but you're using him because he's playing, right?
I actually like Donovan Peoples-Jones a little bit here today, Coop. I threw him in the dartboard as the first in Pemba's special play of the NFL season. His target share over the last 3 weeks is he has 21 targets over the last 3 weeks. He's had at least 4 catches in each of those 3 games as well. He's had long catches of 37 and 41 yards. And we're talking about a Ravens secondary that's been giving up some big plays and a lot of chunk yardage to wide receivers. Everybody is looking at Amari Cooper and David Njoku today. I think that we're going to see, obviously, some potential contrarian ownership if you're in DFS for Donovan Peoples-Jones today. So that's where I'm going to go if we're going to be a little bit different for that game. Coop, if you want to get your questions in the chat, you got to download the app, go to the iTunes, Google Play Store, cut the line, get involved, and you can even ask our guest coming up, Justin Fensterman, some questions as well. This is the Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm on the Bettor Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
There was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out, what speed these guys are running on the field. Yet somehow we still mark the ball by
That's my favorite.
a 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we can probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have satellite.
Like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line. But if you like, first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, doesn't count. Sorry. Couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And, they bring up the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't,
and I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
I love that. It's and not to mention that dude's trying to make the spot and the player always tosses the ball right into his face. Right? Like he's coming over to spot it, and it's like every other time the player just here you go. Here's another thing to juggle.
On call with Dr. Roto.
If the Giants don't win another game this year, A, I'll be shocked. But B, I'll still think that they're better than they were with Joe Judge. Much better. Because I think Brian Dable's got a lot out of this team already. And I'm seeing what this team could be. See, that's the problem with owners and general managers. I see Nathaniel Hackett and I see a guy who can't get it done. I see Matt Rule and see a guy who never should have been hired. Disaster right away. Sometimes a good coordinator in the NFL is better. I don't even say sometimes. Most of the time, a good coordinator in the NFL is better than a college coach because the NFL coordinators, they know the system. They've been there. They've played. They've been around it. For the life of me, I don't know why Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a job yet. Deuce Staley's going to get a job. Somebody's going to hire that dude. When you've been around the game, you understand it. These college guys come, they don't know it.
Join the show with one touch of a button. It's Sports Talk 3.0 on Bettor Sports Network. The Game Day Playbook, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. The Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm here on the Bettor Sports Network. John Pemba with Andrew Cooper breaking down Week 7, answering your questions, going over the games here. And now it's time to be joined by one more, another family member, Justin Fensterman. You know him.
Fancy.
Through Fridays, 5 to 7 here on the Bettor Sports Network. You can find him on Twitter at Fancy Sports. He's bringing you NFL coverage. He's bringing you MLB and NBA coverage over at Fantasy Alarm. But Fensty, welcome in to the Game Day Playbook here. How's your NFL Week 7 going so far?
Guys, if I had more hair on the top of my head, I'm hiding it right now, but if I had more hair, I'd be losing it after what's been going on in the last few days in football. Guys, I'm sure you all feel the same way. How many CMC starter sick questions have you received thus far?
So many, dude. It's questions that I would never, 2 days ago, if you asked me, if I should start CMC or Donta Foreman or Gus Edwards, I would have been like, what sport? What are you even talking about here? How is that even a question? But here we are, dude.
Fancy, let me get your take on it. What are your thoughts on Christian McCaffrey going to the 49ers? And then what are we doing with the Carolina Panthers running back situation?
Here's the deal. I don't know how desperate. I'm sure some of us are very desperate. And for those that ran to their waiver wire and picked up one of the two Carolina running backs that could be in line for production, you're going in there with your eyes closed. But sometimes during bye weeks, guys, you got to take a shot and on a running back. And when you have as many teams where you've got multiple running backs involved, that news on the Chiefs just devastating for a week like this with 4 teams on bye. So with Carolina, I'm kind of frozen right now and wait and see unless desperate. McCaffrey, I love the landing spot very much, but for all that are starting him today, we must manage our expectations. People see, red zone packages. He's going to score. He's going to score 2 touchdowns, 9 carries. He's scoring on 3 of them. That's not exactly how it works. They have to get to the area first. Not saying that they're not going to, but we have to just manage our expectations with this guy for this week.
Yep, yeah. I agree with you there.
Fully on board with that, man. Now, one thing I gotta say, dude, that's a super ugly shirt you're wearing. But yeah, I got my Pats here. Here, how about this one right here, dude? Ty Law action for you.
Whoa, just broke my computer screen right there, Coop. Stop that.
Dude. Look out, dude. But ugly shirt, but I must say, since Zach Wilson returned, they are 3-0. pretty solid. Are you believing in this Jets team that they can make a little bit of noise, or they're still part of the rebuild here, but got to be happy so far, man? How you feeling about this squad?
I mean, I'm very happy, but like most Jets fans, I'm sitting here and I feel like I have a piano hanging from the ceiling, and at some point it's going to drop, and I'm not fully believing in this team. Their schedule is going to get harder. And you mentioned the Patriots. I mean, when they face off against them, it's going to be brutal for the Jets. And also, by the way, from the fantasy standpoint, when tracking their passing attack, that's something that has become very, very difficult to put trust in, even with Elijah Moore not in the situation today, guys. I don't know how you're handling it, but it just seems like the targets are being spread so much, and Wilson's just not throwing as much as Flacco did. Hence, now we're seeing Breece Hall explode these last few weeks.
Yeah, but Fancy, let me ask you, a prop that you've been touting on the playbook during the week at Bettor Sports Network, catch that Monday through Friday, 5 to 7, Breece Hall carries, right? And I'm looking at it today right now. I see it at 15.5. Are you going over the Breece Hall carry total this week?
So I am, guys, and I liked it a lot better before in the last day or two, because here's why. I don't know if I'm doing a disservice to our audience, and maybe you guys can tell me. If I'm giving out bets that are juiced up at minus 150, is that unacceptable? You guys could be honest with me, because I always felt like that's the line, but I don't want to give bets that are just too juiced up. I feel like I'm not helping anyone.
No, listen, I understand you want to get the maximize your return, but also you want to give winning plays. So sure, you're getting less than a minus 110, but minus 110s don't always win. Minus 150s don't always win either. But the odds are, the statistics behind it, they're juicing it up because people are betting it, right? And that's what's going on there. So if you're going to go ahead and bet $200 or whatever on a minus 150, you're still getting that profit back if it hits. I'm fine with it, Ben. So you don't have to let Ronas bully you into giving off of a minus 150. Don't worry.
Here are my thoughts on that. I'm about to offer advice that is straight up sucker play advice. But what I like to do with lines that are like minus 150, minus 200 is if I feel really good about another play, then I'll take that bet and I'll parlay it and just take that juice and kind of sprinkle it on another play just to pump it up. You know what I mean? That way it's like, okay, you think this is a slam dunk, put it with another slam dunk, and now it's a windmill, So that's where I'm at with those bets. But you're right, Betsy, it does feel a little disingenuous to be like, yeah, you know what I mean? First touchdown scorer, Derrick Henry, right? You go play that, it's like.
Right, exactly. Well, I want to help people. That's the thing. And I get it. And John, with what you said, it does justify it a little bit more. I just don't want to ever be in a situation where it's like, oh, Fancy's giving winning bets, but they're juiced up to minus 1. I don't want to be the minus 190 guy.
Yeah, listen, again, like I think a lot of that has to do with Ronas getting in your head sometimes.
You're already the dude.
The guy hates me. I mean, that's be real. We're all watching the playbook. You both have been guests on it. The guy can't stand me.
You're already the dude that gets a steak and cheese at the Waffle House, and now you're the guy that does the minus 200 bets. Yeah, you've got a tough reputation on your own show now, dude.
Coop, give me more credit than that, Coop. It's minus 150, not minus 200. Okay.
You don't deny the steak and cheese incident at the Waffle House.
No, it was awesome. I finished it in 8 seconds.
Fancy, we got a couple of questions here. Let's see if we can maybe help out some of our listeners and watchers here at the Game Day Playbook. Big Mac in chat wants to know if he needs 2 Ayuk, Pickens, Reynolds, Wandale, or Gallup for today.
Ooh, wow.
I am going to go wow, and I heard what you guys said about Wandale. I'm going to go with Gallup, and you know what? I'm probably going to lean Pickens here. You guys making me a little bit less interested. See, this is what happens when I tune in and watch you guys in Wandale Robinson. And John, with what you were saying about Robinson, that share, the targets, it should all go up from here, and we should be seeing that today. I am still going to give a slight lean to Pickens, though, with Mr. Pickett back in the mix.
George Pickens.
Good matchup for him against Miami. I like that.
Good matchup. And last 4 games for Pickens, kind of quietly, 7 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets. I mean, what more can you ask for in this world, right?
I have fewer targets for Chase Claypool then, so I can put even more confidence
they're
in
maybe
him.
Trying to get some teams are looking for trade calls there on Chase Claypool there as well. Archie Hancock also wants to know the Pacheco news. Would you start him over Josh Reynolds in a PPR league?
I don't know if you guys have seen any updates. I know you were questioning it before, and you've got the biggest Detroit Lions fan in the world producing your show in Heather Klein. So I guess we're in wait and see mode. But with the news with Pacheco starting, and I want to see everything. I just want to see it. before I believe it. But I feel like because of what we have seen and the indicators we've been given over the last few weeks, that multiple running backs would start to be more involved. They don't need to give CEH double-digit carries. In this one, I'm still going to go with Pacheco, putting the trust that he is the legit starter and locked into what, guys? What are you thinking with this news? At least 12 to 15 carries?
I would think so.
That's the starter's workload.
Yeah, I would say this, though. They haven't really given Clyde Edwards-Helaire a large workload when it comes to running the football. But I don't think you make the switch to Pacheco without the intention of maybe looking to grind the ball down a little bit more, maybe slow a pace and use Pacheco in a bunch of different ways. Fancy, I know that you were you have some shares of Najee Harris this year. It hasn't necessarily worked out the way you had hoped, but we do have a question from our YouTube channel. Najee Harris or Jamal Williams for today?
Oh, man. Jeez. I'm going to go with Najee Harris still, guys. It's one of those things. I have both of these guys on the same team in the league that we're in together, John. And let me just tell you right now, it's been a little bit miserable, though. Hopefully with Najee, I mean, at this point, with any of our running backs, we want to get him in the end zone here. With Jamal Williams, I mean, I know he's had his good matchups here. Going up against the Cowboys, everything about that just scares me. This team just scares the living daylights out of me ever since what they did to Cincinnati. And I still haven't gotten over that. I mean, this is the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl last year. And they got trounced by this Cowboys team led by Cooper Rush. It's just a testament of how good their defense is and how great of a start this year is, because my co-host Adam Ronis, let me tell you, who's a big Cowboys fan, after week one, wrote this team off. Well, I guess my season's over. The next week, he's like, oh, go Cowboys there. So I'm not going to battle up against the Cowboys here. Give me the latter.
Adam Ronis went negative? I don't believe it.
I know. It's been a new Ronis this year, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Fancy work and grind in our Better Sports chat here. Wants to know Latavius Murray or Pacheco today in a full PPR.
Again, with this situation with Latavius Murray, I mean, I guess Melvin Gordon, I guess there was a conversation or something. And see, this is what we're going by. A conversation that none of us were there for, saying, oh, Melvin, you're still the guy there. I don't feel safe with Denver. I just don't at this point here. Even though it's a 37 total, no Russell Wilson. It's going to be a lot of running on both sides. We just talked about Hall. So I can't put any trust right now into Melvin Gordon until I see the guy produce and not fumble.
Yeah, for sure.
Older back in a split backfield that was already terrible, and now they're going to the backup quarterback. Miss me with that situation.
Yeah, so with that, it's just with Latavius Murray, it's very convoluted right now. I want to see it a little bit more before I put faith into him.
So we've been recommending a lot of Pacheco out here. Sam D in the YouTube chat asks, I have Adam Thielen and Deonta Foreman at the end of his bench. Should he drop one of those guys to pick up Pacheco? Would you be doing that?
Man, it's tough, guys, but at this point, right now, this moment, I can't say yes to that because we don't know if Foreman ultimately is going to be the starter there. And by the way, with Pacheco, let's say he has a bad game. What's stopping Coach Reed from all of a sudden the next time out being like, you know what? Maybe we'll back off him a little bit. So because it's a similar situation to me, stay put.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Fancy. And we appreciate you coming on, Fancy. Before we let you go, I got to get your top player prop of the day. Give me the one play that you're going for today that you can give our Game Day Playbook listeners here, watchers as well, to go ahead and maybe make some cash for today.
Something that's not minus 300, please.
Okay, so all right, man.
There goes all of them. There goes all of them.
You threw them off. Oh, God, seriously, now I can't answer. So besides the amazing minus 150 Breece Hall over 15.5 carries, I'll give you another one with a little bit better odds. Allen Lazard over 48.5 receiving yards. It's not going to get much better of a matchup for this Packers team and going up against the Commanders, who Coop, after seeing what Coop did at the Hall of Fame in Canton, Coop could throw for 250 and a couple of scores against the Commanders.
Didn't watch Coop during the quarterback drill there, but that's
those balls were not regulation. They were not.
Coop, I loved you during the flag football tournament. You were great. You sucked.
Those balls were not regulation, bro. I'm telling you that those things were like little Nerf balls, dude. You gotta get me the Duke, bro.
Yes, well, you know what, Coop? I'll put a smile on your face then and just give Allen Lazard over 48.5 receiving yards. The targets have gone up. I mean, we've seen it matching still with Dobbs, but both of them I like too. And with Lazard, him getting the production he's gotten over the last few weeks against the Commanders, this should, I don't want to say smash, but this should come through. This is one of the most confidence factors that I have in props for this week is this prop.
Awesome. I love that one too as well, Fancy. I got him in our Contrarian Corner DFS video that I put out on site as well. A lot of people I think are going to go Romeo Dubs today, given the price point for Lazard, but Lazard's proving to be the top guy there, I think, in that Packers offense. So,
can I ask you guys one question? Is that okay? Because on the other side of the ball, what do you make of the Commanders' backfield at this point? Because one of the other props that I have that I'm battling against Adam Ronis with, kind of a little bit more risky than I originally thought. Brian Robinson over 13.5 carries. And I know all of a sudden Gibson comes back into the mix, and now we're stuck with we don't know who to trust here. But do you think that Robinson will still get that kind of volume even after the poor performance?
I have not been as high on Brian Robinson this week. I talked about it with Howard Bender. Him and I kind of do a little powwow sit down when we're talking about the playbook and lineups to build out for the example lineups. And he had Brian Robinson in some of those lineups. And listen, you look at the performance just from the face of the box score last week, and you think, oh, Brian Robinson had an okay day. He had 60 yards and a touchdown. You got to look a little bit deeper into it. He scored that touchdown because the Bears muffed a punt and gave the Commanders the football on the 5-yard line. And then he had a 16-yard run on the final offensive drive for the Commanders there. Before that, he was averaging 2.7 yards per carry. So he was doing absolutely nothing until he broke off that one run late in that game against the Bears defense. That was pretty much done. And his touchdown came because the Bears literally gave them the football on the 5-yard line, and he punched it in there. So Robinson honestly wasn't that impressive. Now the Bears defense running against the run defense, it's not great, but it's okay. It's getting better. The Packers defense DVOA against the run, one of the worst in football. So maybe this is a spot for him to kind of break it out. But I'm avoiding Robinson this week. I just need to see it a little bit more consistently there. I don't think the Commanders are very good. Taylor Heinicke scares me as a quarterback and how defense is going to play that offense now. So I'm out on Robinson. That's just a no bet or a no play for me this week.
Yeah, I'm there with you, dude. It's running is the luxury of the winning team in this league, and I think that the Packers win this game. By that alone steers me away from this guy. And I don't really like him in fantasy because does he even have a target? Like, they're not throwing to this guy.
No, they're not throwing him. I actually was very surprised to see Gibson almost take over the McKissick role last week.
Yeah, super annoying for fantasy, that whole situation.
Yeah, I agree. Fancy, why don't you tell the people where they can find you during the week?
Absolutely. All week long on this network here on BSN for the playbook with me and Adam Ronis, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. And also you can find me on Twitter at FenceD Sports, all the work, fantasyalarm.com. John, we're in the crazy time in sports right now. Yeah. You know what's going on. You're a multi-sport guy here. So, hey, it might be football mindset right now, but then soon enough, John, I flip the switch in the next hour and it's all Sunday basketball after that too. So we can give all of our FA subscribers as much winning content as humanly possible, because like I always say, boys, and it's a little bit cliche, a family that sticks together wins together.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Give Fancy a follow on Twitter at Fancy Sports. Justin, thank you for joining us. We'll catch up.
Hey guys, it was great. It was great joining you. Yes, Coop, I see you work for fantasyalarm.com. I think I knew that already, but represent. Thank you guys.
Right, baby.
Yeah. See you, Fancy. All right, Coop, let's get back into our questions here. They came rapid fire there. Well, we had Fancy on with us here. So why don't you start rattling off some that we have in the YouTube channel?
Yeah, let's knock some here. I got a couple. Here's an easy one or the other: Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott today, John. Tough one. You're the QB guy.
I know. I have them both in the quarterback coach this week. Man, I think I'm gonna lean Burrow because Dak just coming off of the injury there. You know, I know what Burrow can do. I want to see what Dak can do. If you're in DFS, you're saving a little bit of money playing Dak, so maybe go there. But again, I think Burrow's clicking a little bit right now with that offense. They're healthy. They're really struggling to run the football, surprisingly. So yeah, I think I'm going to lean Burrow in this one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, like if this were a knee or hamstring or something like that, it's a thumb injury. So sometimes guys come back from that. It's not quite as crisp as it was before. So
right. Plus, this is a spot where I think they're going to run the ball a lot. So that's the other thing. It's not that I don't think they're going to throw. I do think that they're going to throw, but this feels like a game where they get out to a lead and they don't rely on Dak to do too much. So that's kind of where I'm leaning at it there. And we're on that Falcons Bengals game, Coop. So like we'll talk about that as well in a second.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in a second. We're going to talk about these games. We're going to answer all your questions. Get them in the YouTube chat. Or if you want to skip the line, download the Bettor Sports app, Bettor, and ask your questions in that chat, and we'll answer those right away. You skip the line if you download the app. You can call in, do whatever on there. We're going to get to all of them. And guess what? We're canceling the rest of the breaks. No more breaks for the rest of the show. We're going straight through until the FYF show that comes on at 11. At 11:30, they're going to have all the official inactives for you. So make sure you stay tuned to that show after ours with JL, Simon, and Luke and Joey Wright. But we're going straight through. We're just going to keep rattling. So here's another one, John, coming right at you. Tom Mooney asked, Pacheco or Mooney in the flex? Darno Mooney
Pacheco,
or
right.
Pacheco? I figure we get a lot of Pacheco.
I'm not going Bears receivers against the Patriots secondary. That's not gonna play well for them there.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that game, but I think the Patriots are the kind of the perfect matchup for this Bears team. Like they have the perfect setup to shut them down. But we'll get to that one. You go Kareem Hunt or AJ Dillon? Couple backup running backs there.
I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt today. Listen, Hunt's still effective, right? He gets his 10 plus carries, he gets to like 40 plus yards, and he'll get you a handful of touches too, and he gets some red zone work. So I'm gonna go Hunt.
Yeah. So Odie, go Hunt. I mean, maybe exception if you're one of those rare standard leagues. Maybe you go AJ Dillon, but Hunt is he's just better in the pass game, and as we know, statistically proven that targets are more valuable than carries. Preston asked, should I start? Actually, he downloaded the app, came in the chat, already answered that question. So that is where you're at. If you guys were around earlier when Preston asked his question in the Bettor Sports app, we got to that. We're just getting to it now in the YouTube. So that's how far ahead you get to skip.
Cut the line.
Yeah, you get
cut the line. Download the free Bettor Sports Network app in the iTunes, Google Play Store. Be part of the Bettor Sports Network community. Join the show, sign up, and then you get your questions put into our Bettor Sports Network chat, and Coop and I answer those first. So as soon as we see them pop into our Bettor Sports Network chat, we answer them. As Coop said, we're just getting to that question now in YouTube. So if you want your question answered right now, if you're watching the show and you want your question answered right now, go download the app. iTunes, Google Play Store. It's the Bettor Sports app. Download it, sign up, join the show. It is free. It's free to do. It doesn't cost you any money.
We got better boss in here in the chat. That's Matt Deutsch. This is his show. He's like, he runs this whole network. He's the boss. He's in here saying, good to see some new names in here. Welcome everyone. It's like that when the restaurant owner comes around to shake everybody's hand. You know, he's in here hanging with the people, having a good time. We got Working Grind Hal in here, Archie Hancock, Swansea Sea Snake, 49ers Forever, the whole gang, Loaf. Let's go. But yeah, we're going to get to all the questions, the YouTube ones as well. It's just you get to cut the line if you come in. Speaking of YouTube questions, we got Fernando Lou. We actually already answered that one. We got Steve J23, Rashad White or Isaiah Pacheco. We already answered this one.
Listen, like 90% of the questions today, everybody, is if it's like your flex play before today or Pacheco, it's going to be Pacheco. You're getting the starting running back on the Kansas City Chiefs. There aren't going to be many running backs outside the top 24 that we're not going to play Pacheco over, because Pacheco has top 24 upside in this offense as the starting running back. He can catch the football. He proved that during the preseason. He can run the football. He's proved that all year. He's going to get some of the red zone work. Like they're going to utilize him. I understand the matchup sucks, Coop, right? It's the 49ers. So this isn't the greatest debut spot for him, but you're weighing your options here. It's gonna be Pacheco the majority of the start-sit questions.
Ask yourself: is the other running back the starting running back on his team? If he's not, start Pacheco. So if you're talking about Michael Carter, you're talking about we've gotten questions: Michael Carter, Rashad White. These guys are backups. AJ Dillon, even Tony Pollard, Kareem Hunt. Like start the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'll go as far as say start the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs over the starting running back for like the Carolina Panthers. Like you can't start Donta Foreman or Isaiah Pacheco. So that's where we're at with that. Here's a new one that we haven't gotten to. Patty in the chat asking, choose one as the wide receiver 2. A lot of good options here, or options that have appealing names, let's say, that might, some of them underperforming a bit. We have Juju Smith-Schuster, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Rashad Bateman. Every one of those guys has a little bit of an asterisk on the name, John. So you go
Yeah.
Juju,
Yeah.
Judy with a backup quarterback, Sutton with a backup quarterback, Bateman with coming off a foot injury, or Juju just as himself.
I
Juju
would
starring as Juju.
lean Bateman, I think. I don't think they play Bateman if he's not good to go. I'm gonna go Bateman just because the quarterback. Better quarterback in that group.
Bateman has a lot of upside. He flashed it, and in the games early in the year, very strange game scripts. This team, the Ravens, averaged 69 snaps a game last year, which led the league. In the first 3 games or so, they were running like 50 snaps a game, the lowest in the league. It was just weird game scripts against like the Jets, and then they were blowing out teams, and then they finally got to the Dolphins game where it was a good game script, and he did really well. So I do like Bateman a lot. Steve Drake's in the chat. Steven Drake's asked Michael Gallup or Jacoby Myers, and it's half PPR. I think that kind of answers it right there.
Yeah, I mean Gallup is obviously exciting, but dude, I mean,
actually, I don't know.
Jacoby Myers has been really good.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you saw the update or not, but reports are that Mac Jones is expected to be the starting quarterback Monday night for New England. I mean, did you have the Bailey Zappi fever? What are your thoughts on the returning of Mac Jones here?
To me, to be honest, my take is pretty much the most boring one. But both these quarterbacks might just be exactly ordinary. And to me, it's like, do you want Mac Jones at quarterback or other Mac Jones? Right.
Right.
So
well, here's what my argument was in a discussion that I had with somebody yesterday. I'm excited to see Mac Jones because he now knows that there's another option in town. And when you get a motivated player, and listen, and this was a kind of a stolen take a little bit because I listen to a lot of sports radio, so I'll regurgitate it a little bit. But hey, that's what we do here. We craft and mold. What has Mac Jones ever had to really earn in his life, right? Like he has been the guy really anywhere he's ever gone. Alabama all-story program, the number 1 guy. He's the 15th overall pick. He won the starting job as a rookie quarterback in New England. Like to him, there was never like that chip on his shoulder. He was just always the best where he went. And now he's hit some adversity. And you heard the reports at the beginning of the year that, he was frustrated with the new offense and he was kind of going back and forth. And depending on what you believe and don't believe, there were some problems there. And I'm not talking about what Ben Volen said because that was a lie. But there was other reports before that there was maybe some discontent there in New England. And Bailey Zappi comes in when he gets hurt and wins 2 games, back-to-back starts, winning games, quarterback rating over 100, 300 yards and 2 scores last week. All of this against one of the worst defenses in football, the Browns and the Lions. But he proved that he can win football games for this Patriots team. And the fact that there has been this conversation in New England now about like, do we need Mac Jones? Bailey Zappi's winning. The offense is moving. I think that's what a guy like Mac Jones needs to hit a ceiling. He needs somebody to show him like, hey, this is the NFL. There are guys that can do what you do. Everybody here is generally pretty good. So I think if Mac Jones is going to reach his ceiling, he needed that push from somebody. I think Bailey Zappi's going to give him that push. I'm excited to see what he does on Monday night. If he comes out and falls flat, he may not be starting again come week 8.
Yeah, such a good point, John, because what sport we see it all the time, and is a sport that you know better than I, but basketball. These guys come out, they're the best at every level, and then they get the NBA and they realize, okay, now I'm playing at the highest level. I need to learn some moves in the paint. I need to further craft my game. I need to take some risks. Matt, like Bailey Zappi's out here slinging the ball, and as you said, he comes from a college program where he was just shotgun all day, chucking. So now Mac Jones, he's been watching the games. He needs to come out a little chip on his shoulder, start throwing the ball. So you're right. It's exciting for fantasy, exciting for Patriots fans. We're going to preview that game at the end here. Let's rip real rapid fire on some start sits, and then let's get back to some game previews to wrap up the show. So better add. So it sounds like a last bench spot. Using your last bench spot on Rachaad White, Chase Edmonds, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sony Michel, or Robert Tonyan. Tonyan. Yeah.
We got a Gallup or Sutton question in our Better Sports chat here from Odea76. How are you going? Gotta go Gallup, right?
Yeah, gotta go Gallup. Can't trust Sutton with the backup quarterback. If you can avoid Judy and Sutton today, do it. We just don't know what it's going to be. It's too risky. Gallup with Dak Prescott, we know what that looks like. Looks good.
Yeah, looks good. Exactly.
So then we got again, Odea76 getting in here, skipping the line. So he had his question in the YouTube channel.
Perfect. Cut the
yeah,
line.
we're
Download the
gonna
app.
skip
You
that.
get your
Cut the
questions
line.
answered first in our chat right now. iTunes, Google Play, Better Sports app. Download it. It's free. Join the show. Get your questions answered first.
Yep. Terry R in the YouTube, ton of Lions on the team. Should I trade Hawkinson, Kenyon Drake, and London? So a couple Lions, a couple Drakes, TJ Hawkinson, Kenyon Drake, and Drake London for Pitts and either Dobbins or Juju. Would you do that? I will tell
I'm
you right
not
now.
trading for Pitts.
No,
I don't
no,
care.
can't.
Move on from what your thoughts of Kyle Pitts were.
Yeah.
And listen, I get it. We talked about it to open the show. This time 2 years ago, Logan Thomas was a nobody, and then the second half of the year he broke out. Last year we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown break out, wide receiver 1 the rest of the way. Kyle Pitts has that potential. We haven't seen it yet, but you got to look at the other factors around it. This offense doesn't throw the football enough. Marcus Mariota is a bad quarterback. Like, a lot of things aren't playing in Kyle Pitts' favor for him to emerge as the guy that's going to break out.
23% target share is nice, but 23% of 15 to 20 passes is what?
I said that exact thing.
Three or four receptions. I know.
Beginning of the year. What does it matter what his target share is if they don't throw the football?
I know, dude. Joe Flacco still has more pass attempts right now on the season than Justin Fields and Marcus Mariota, and he got benched 3 games ago. Ridiculous. Yeah. But anyway,
Brandon wants to know pick 2: Najee Harris, Etienne, or Pacheco.
Ren in the chat cutting the line. I'm starting Najee and Pacheco. Oh man, Etienne.
No, I'm going Etienne and Pacheco. I'm not doing Najee Harris.
Etienne and Pacheco. Yeah, Najee. And the thing with Najee that we loved is he was playing every snap last year. That he was just brute force fantasy production. That's not happening this year. Jalen Warren's playing. The game before last, Jalen Warren played more snaps than Najee. Last week, Najee came back, played 60% to 40%, but that's not cutting it on this bad of a team. We need 100% Najee to trust him. So you're right. Etienne and Pacheco. I got to get the Najee out of my mind here. And then let's do one more, and then let's get back to game previews. A couple ancillary pieces. Sammy Watkins, who is active, or Devin Duvernay?
Duvernay.
Yeah, Duvernay. I think it's DeMarcus Robinson that goes back to the bench for the Ravens, not Devin.
Yeah, I just don't know what Sammy Watkins is going to be right out of the gate. Plus, it's not week 1, and it's Sammy Watkins. So
if Sammy Watkins is 100% out of the gate, if he's 100% the Sammy Watkins he's been, I'm not even sure if that's good. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. He hasn't been very good. So, all right, Falcons, Bengals. We touched upon it a little bit earlier. You talked about Kyle Pitts there. Bengals 6.5 to 47.5 game total. Everybody seemingly is coming into this game healthy. Higgins is over the ankle injury, practicing full all week. Jamar Chase, monster week. Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst. We've been getting a lot of questions in our Discord chat about Hayden Hurst. Coop, I got to get your take there. How are we evaluating this Bengals tight end?
He's the single most boring player in all of fantasy football. And you know what? I think Hayden Hurst is a great guy. Love what he does for mental health awareness. Seems like a really good dude. And I love that he gets to get his revenge game this week. But in reality, we're talking about the 5th target on this team. He doesn't get more targets than Chase, doesn't get more than T. Higgins. Joe Mixon has more targets than him on the season. And even though he has slightly more targets than Tyler Boyd, if I had to pick one to get more targets the rest of the season, Boyd or Hurst, I'm picking Boyd. So this is probably the most 3 to 5 targets and maybe a touchdown or maybe not type player out there. Those players are lying all over the ground, all over the waiver wire. So for me, I'm starting pretty much anybody that's more exciting over Hayden Hurst. And that includes Cade Otton with Cameron Braid out. That includes Evan Ingram. That includes a lot of guys. I'm not chasing touchdowns. It's not how I play, and it's not how you win.
Yep, I agree with you there. Anything on the Falcons excite you at all?
No. Maybe Marcus Mariota if he runs 5 to 10 times again. Now I'm starting to sit here and I'm like, okay, 5 to 10 carries a game gives you a nice floor. Definitely in 2 QB leagues, but even in 1 QB leagues. Got to start thinking about it. NFC Player of the Week last week. 10 carries. There's no substitute for that, right, John?
Yeah, Mariota rushing prop right now. He is at a 34.5 yards rushing. Do you go over or under?
I bet over. But I mean, sometimes I look at these props and it just, rather than betting them, it makes me confident for fantasy football. Like when Fency came on, he brought up that the Breece Hall 15 carry prop.
Yeah.
Didn't make me want to bet it one way or the other, but I'm like, geez, Vegas is setting the line at 15. I like that for fantasy. Get him in your lineups, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And he's gone over that. Mariota's gone over that in back-to-back weeks when it comes to his rushing upside. So
he's scooting around.
Yeah, listen, that's what they need. They need his mobility to kind of open up that passing game a little bit. We'll see if he can do it against the Bengals. Jets, Broncos. Broncos are getting only a 1.5 Coop. Questionable. Again, a little disrespect maybe for these New York teams today. 36.5 game total, though. Pretty gross. Brett Ripien starting for the Broncos. Apparently, we're going to see Melvin Gordon start this game as well. Jets wide receiver issues. Elijah Moore is requesting a trade. He's going to be inactive today. Fantasy-wise and DFS, we're probably not touching this outside of Breece Hall. But, how are you going about if you have to start Judy? We've had a lot of start-say questions, or Sutton. What are our thoughts here in this game?
So the way I look at it, if anybody that is a Fantasy Alarm member, actually this one's actually free, but all the snap count numbers, our tool is for Fantasy Alarm members. But I write an article each week that breaks down the snap, my thoughts on all the snaps. Sutton is a guy that I'm starting only if the other option is a guy that plays like 50% of the snaps. So we're talking like a slot guy that comes out of the game. So if you're asking me if I'm starting like just Sutton or Braxton Berrios in this game, I'm starting Sutton. If you're asking me if I'm starting Sutton or Tyler Boyd even, I'm probably starting Sutton. But just keep in mind that, 36.5 over under that might be the lowest we see all year. Unless there's like a blizzard at some point, right, John?
Juggernaut over in our chat here, cutting the line. He has a question about Breece Hall and a trade. Would you trade Mark Andrews, but get return Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker?
If Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker both go right into your lineup, I do that trade, and I just try and figure out what's going on. I just try and glue together a tight end.
Those are 2 RB1s right there. I'm big.
If you're starting those guys, even if they would instantly become your RB1 and RB2, you immediately smash that trade. If they become
your other tight end too, what are you doing? What's your plan after that?
I'll MacGyver one together with sticks and glue.
What if it's Dolchik? Would you if it's backup tight end? You're good. You're good there.
Good, yeah. If you're getting 2 guys that go into, he has Travis Kelce.
Also. Oh yeah.
Hey, so the username Juggernaut. The username Juggernaut makes a lot of sense, right?
Would you rather Andrews or Kelce?
I think I would rather Kelce.
Okay.
It's so close. Mark Andrews, he is breaking my spreadsheets because he hasn't pass blocked one time all year. It's, usually guys that pass block, 1%, 2%, those guys are green on my spreadsheet. Now, because of Mark Andrews, everybody else looks tame. The dude's lining up a wide receiver 80% of his snaps, running every route, not pass blocking ever. I might pick Mark Andrews here, but it's so close. It doesn't even matter how you rank them, 1 or 2, 1A, 1B. Do that trade, win your league.
Yep, I agree with you. Andrews should be fine. He's expected to play today.
He's fine.
Jalen wants to know, have we heard anything about Josh Reynolds? We haven't yet. Again, inactives will be out. Stick with the Bettor Sports Network all day long. Front Yard Fantasy's coming up next from 11 to 1 with Joey, Simon, and JL. They'll have your official inactives and any updated injury report news there. So we'll find out about Josh Reynolds a little bit later on in the morning. So stick with it. Stick with the show. They'll have all that information for you.
Before we leave this Jets Broncos game, we had another question applicable to this game. Jacoby Myers, Brandon Ayuk, or Courtland Sutton? Half PPR.
Some Sutton, Myers, and who?
Just take Sutton out of the question. It's Jacoby Myers or Brandon Ayuk in half PPR.
I'm going to go Jacoby Myers. He's the wide receiver 1.
He's been the wide receiver 1 for the Patriots for 3 straight years. He's led this team in targets.
He's the top 20 wide receiver in fantasy this year.
We can't deny. He cannot be denied. He's not fast. He's
not
big.
Another John Wynn column over Nelson Aguilar.
I'll tell you, in fantasy football, and I'm a stat nerd, right? I'll come out and drop stats on you, 8 yards per route run, whatever. When the games go live at 1:00 today, everything reverts back to one thing, or 2 things really: first downs and touchdowns. Who can get you the first down and then scoring a touchdown? That's all football is. And Jacoby Myers moves the sticks, right? That's.
I don't know if you saw. I think it was Orlovsky or it was Evan Lazard tweeted out against the Browns last week. Jacoby Myers ran 2 the exact same routes, but it was an option route. And the way he got open on both was he set up the cornerback. He showed it one way in the first play, got open for 20 yards. Exact same route, just set it up and showed it the other way and got wide open on that way too. Dude is just
cerebral.
Intangibles in the NFL matter sometimes. So like you said, you can be as fast as you want. But guys like Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, those guys weren't fast. They just were able to get open. And Jacoby Myers is showing that same sort of ability here in New England.
The day I realized that, I was watching prime AJ Green, and he had a cornerback face guarding him, facing the wrong direction. And he put his hands up like this, right in front of his own face. And the cornerback put his hands in between AJ Green's hands. And then he reached over here last second and caught the ball over here. That was the day I realized that these guys are doing stuff that you can't put into a spreadsheet. Like it blew my mind that this guy thought he was like the whole time right here. And then in last second, he goes, boom, catches the ball right here. And the cornerback had no chance. Like that's the kind of stuff that these guys are doing.
Have a feel for what they're doing. Jacoby Myers, he led South Carolina in receiving too, right? Over who was the other receiver that was with him? I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a receiver that was drafted earlier ahead of him that like is a prominent receiver. And Myers actually led that team in receiving. So all right, next game, Raiders Texans here. This is a big one for DFS. Josh Jacobs is all over DFS, betting, fantasy, you name it. Josh Jacobs is the cover of everything today. Back-to-back weeks of over 140 yards rushing for him. Now going up against a Texans team that is bottom 5 defense against the running game here. People were down, Coop, on Josh Jacobs heading into this year. We talked about it all offseason. I didn't really understand it because a primary running back in a Josh Jacobs offense, at least gets volume and they can score touchdowns. Our fear was that he wasn't going to catch the football, and now he's doing that. So Josh Jacobs, it could be a top 5 overall running back by the time the season ends.
But I was wrong on that one. I'll admit it. I admitted it earlier this, probably a couple of weeks in the season. I thought they were going to split the backfield the way that the Patriots have for a long time. They did not. Josh Jacobs is getting the usage. I mean, he's rattling off 140, 150 yard games. He's awesome, man. I have him ranked top 5. Like if the guy who has Jacobs probably realizes now, but this is your last chance to get this guy. And, I look at, this matchup, pretty good for fantasy football. You got the Chiefs also at 4:00, the Seahawks Chargers. I don't think anybody's putting the Jets and Broncos game on the big TV at 4:00, John. I think that one's going to be, you just kind of check the stats later on that. Now on the Texans side, we like Dameon Pierce in the situations where you must start him. And then after that, not super exciting. Davis Mills, maybe in 2 quarterback leagues or as a DFS start throw. Brandon Cooks, where you must. Nico Collins, not really involved.
Nico Collins, though, if you look at his DFS production lately, it's not been awful.
For
where he's priced
DFS. DFS, right? Yes.
But even in seasonal, if you need a wide receiver 3 and it's bye weeks that we're talking, listen, we didn't touch on the top of the show. This is a big bye week, right? No Bills, no Rams, no Vikings, and no Eagles. So a lot of top tier wide receivers all off your board. If you need a wide receiver 3 or a flex, last 3 weeks or so, Nico Collins is getting you like 8 to 10 fantasy points in the PPR.
Yeah. With all those teams, all those great teams on bye, guess what team playing this weekend has the best record of any team?
What's that?
The New York Giants.
5-1?
Yeah, because all the other 5-1 teams are on bye.
True.
So the best team playing this week is the New York Giants, dude. Welcome to Crazy Town, folks.
And they're underdogs on the road.
And they're dogs. Yeah, I'm gonna make up a start sit for you right now, John, because I think it's really close. Would you start Dameon Pierce or would you start Isaiah Pacheco
today? Probably Pacheco because I think the touchdown. You know what? I'm going to go Pierce. Pierce has been too good.
Yeah,
he's just been too good.
We got 2 Garrett Wilson questions. So I'm in the YouTube chat. So I'm going to ask us both. Pete Santiago says DJ Moore or Garrett Wilson. Full PPR. He says, sadly, those are his options.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson.
No Elijah Moore. Go Garrett Wilson. The other Garrett Wilson question we got is Rashad Bateman or Garrett Wilson.
I'm going to go Bateman there.
I like Bateman as well there. So, yes. All right. And we'll just hit a couple real quick before we get back to the games here. Tua, the quarterback whisperer, John, Tua or Geno? That's kind of that's an interesting one.
I'm going to go Tua this week. He's back. I like him against Pittsburgh.
Tua's been awesome. He's been hurt.
His receivers have been awesome, and that just helps him.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I was just saying, once I wasn't on board until somebody posted a video that was flipped where it looked like he was throwing right-handed. And then I was like, this guy's awesome. After that, I went and watched the James Harden highlight video right-handed, and I was like, wow, James Harden's really good. It's just like seeing it lefty, it doesn't, my brain doesn't click. Trade offer, Mike Evans, Joe Mixon, Alec Pierce, Mark Andrews. Good Lord, why don't you guys just trade
Why are you
teams?
trading all these guys? I don't even want to answer this, Coop. I swear to God.
And Kenneth Walker for Chase, CMC, Stevenson, Schultz, ETN. My opinion, Jonah, is that keep your own players, dude. Don't you're trading your entire team for this other dude's entire team. Keep your team.
Didn't
Keep
anybody ever watch The Patriot growing up, Coop? Aim small, miss small, right?
Exactly.
Why are we trading all of our top 5 players for another guy's top 5 players? It doesn't
and the downside of that is that if that dude wins the league, he won the league with your team, the team that you put together. Like it's
the only thing that you saw when you got that trade offer was CMC, and you're like, oh, CMC. Like no, just
if you do that trade, then you win the league. Then it's like, it kind of cheapens your win too, because you just
make it smaller. Figure out a different deal. Don't trade 9 guys for 9 guys.
Yeah. Need 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. So he needs a wide receiver either out of Michael Gallup or Alan Lazard. So Gallup or Lazard, John?
Lazard.
So you got Lazard in there, and then would you start Dameon Pierce or Gallup at the flex? This is full PPR.
Pierce,
got to be Pierce. He's playing too much, too good. Andrea says, morning, Andrew. Good morning, Andrea. We actually just answered her question. If you're pleasant to us in the chat, you also get to skip the line a little bit. But the way to really skip the line, download the Bettor Sports app, Bettor. Ask your questions in there or call in. We will, anybody that takes care of us and helps us out by downloading that app, we'll take care of you right away. So
it's free to download, free to join the show, free to sign up. There's really no reason not to do it unless you just like waiting in lines, Scoop. I mean, some people just like waiting in lines. So
people in England, they like a good queue. A good queue to see the queen.
Download the app, join the show, get your questions answered.
Exactly, dude. Some people love the wait. Devin Duvernay or Hunter Renfrow? I think I'm going Renfrow with Waller out. PPR. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Our friend Ann Dunn's in here. She's in our Discord. She's also in our chat. I want to give her a quick shout in here and answer a couple of her questions. Coop, can we rapid fire these for our Fantasy Alarm subscriber?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're answering questions in the Discord always, Fantasy Alarm Discord, and that's going to be all day, right up to 1. So if you miss us on this show, obviously stay tuned and watch the Front Yard Fantasy Show with JL, Simon, and Joey Wright coming up after this. But if you want questions from us specifically at Fantasy Alarm, come over to the Discord, ask questions there. We'll be answering them right up to 1 o'clock. Ann, if you have any questions now, drop them right now. You're a Fantasy Alarm member. I got them
right here, Coop. I'm going to rattle them off to you. Ready? Tight end premium. We're looking at Drake, McLaurin, or Pitts.
McLaurin. Has to be McLaurin.
Herbert or Tua today?
Oh, man, that's tough. I think it's Herbert for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Herbert as well. Thoughts on Keenan Allen? Going to be a game time decision later on today. Would you risk playing him?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think so. They have their bye week next week. All reports have been the team more than likely going to hold them out for their bye week.
I'll tell you 2 players I don't trust. 1, Keenan Allen, because he, is coming back and he's had games where he comes back and doesn't do much. The other, I don't trust at all. Tyler Lockett. He's the complete opposite. He plays hurt. They let him play hurt. And we've seen it a million times. Go back every year he gets hurt, and then he comes back and plays a 90% snap share and has like 2 catches. He did it last week. He's going to do it again this week. Don't trust Tyler Lockett. If you can avoid him, if you have no one else, start him. But if you can avoid Tyler Lockett, I put him in the same bucket that I'm putting Cortland Sutton in. Give me anything viable over that guy. Because
if you're not going to play Keenan Allen, would you play Mac Hollins or Sony Michel? I guess that's her pivots. It's probably Mac Hollins.
Probably Mac Hollins, yeah, with no Darren Waller.
Hawk or Ingram today?
Oh my God. You got to start TJ Hawkinson. I love Ingram. Maybe if it's full PPR, but TJ Hawkinson showed us that he's capable of great things. 170 yards and 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. Last game before the bye, he ran into Kyle Duggar for the Patriots, who is he's a real problem for tight ends. So I'm not going to hold that against Hawkinson. He's fresh coming off the bye, ready to rock.
Ingram or Freiermuth?
Ingram.
I don't trust Gino or Goff, and that's the last of Andon's rapid fire.
Gino, for sure.
Gonna go there as well. Better Boss in chat. Sleeper alert. He's playing Khalif Raymond today, Coop.
There's nobody that better boss. There's no bigger fans of Khalif Raymond and Richie James than Better Boss, man. I'm rooting for you, my dude. Well, one of these weeks you're gonna be you're gonna hit it big in PPR with those guys. So we got Better Al.
Talk to me about Foster Moreau real quick.
Yeah, Better Al in the chat, not feeling the Khalif Raymond pick. Yeah, throw those The flex is up in the chat for Better Boss. Get the strong arms up there for Better Boss, baby, or for Better Al. That's there's the strong arms, baby. Let's go. Foster Moreau, if you can't trust Darren Waller in this offense, why in the world are you going to trust Foster Moreau? This is a guy that people in their minds think comes into this game and he plays like Darren Waller, but in 50 career games he's played, he's never had more than 67 yards in a game.
He had like one good game, I think, that people remember. Like he
got a touchdown. That's what he got, like 2 touchdowns. He's never had more than 70 yards in a game. He's not Darren Waller, and guess what? We can't even trust Darren Waller out here. So I don't see it. You know what I mean? Maybe if Devontae Adams got suspended, maybe, but he didn't. So like you're outside of your mind starting Foster Moreau.
Here's what's happening for the Raiders today, right? Matt Collins is questionable. Hunter Renfrow is questionable. Both of them are going to play, but who knows how limited they're going to be. No Darren Waller. They're going to run the football with Josh Jacobs. That's what they're going to do today. So, I agree. You can't really trust much of that.
Let's rapid fire. We're coming up on the end of the game. Let's rapid fire these games. Yep. Chiefs, 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, CMC, we've talked about it. Like, you got to play him if you got him in your lineups, obviously. Jeff Wilson, I still think you're playing today because he's going to get his share of snaps. CMC is going to be limited to, again, just kind of the newness there. But I like all sides of the 49ers offense here. I'm fine with Samuel, Ayuk, Kittle, especially. Chiefs side, it's going to be tougher because this is a really good defense against San Francisco. But Pacheco starting, we've talked about it. You pretty much have to start Pacheco today just because he's going to be that starting running back. The receivers are the questions, right? Like Juju, MVS, Mecole Hardman had a good game, but he's splitting time here with Sky Moore. Like, how are you handling that?
Not starting any of them. I'm starting Kelsey, starting Mahomes, avoiding those guys if possible. 49ers, because they use check, super highly consolidated offense. Seahawks, Chargers, 50-point over-under. John, Chargers -5. How you feeling on this game?
I love all sides of it. Again, I think that you're going to play Austin Eckler in DFS. He's super chalk today. And then you can go with Mike Williams. Listen, people are afraid of Mike Williams because he's been so boom or bust this year. He has like 3 games where he has single-digit fantasy points. He's got like 3 games where he's giving you like 25 plus. So I'm fine, again, just throwing him in there in GBPs in your DFS lineups today, especially if Keenan Allen's out. If Keenan Allen's out again, you go right back to Gerald Everett.
Yeah, Gerald Everett, like here's my thoughts on Gerald Everett. The Seahawks are the very worst team in the league versus tight end. If you're not starting Gerald Everett this week, you can drop him to waivers because next week is a bye week. This is the best matchup he's going to get. And then next week is a bye week. And then after that, Keenan Allen will definitely be back. Right. So either start Gerald Everett this week or you can move on from him.
Pick up DeAndre Carter, by the way, if he's floating around your waiver wire today. That could be a good spot. No Josh Palmer, no Keenan Allen. DeAndre Carter could certainly be the guy going for you there. Coop, couple minutes left here. You want to go ahead and give us a couple questions before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, real quick, just before we go, Steelers or Dolphins? Do you think Dolphins handle this game easily?
Yeah, Dolphins handle this one to a return. You can run all over the Steelers. Mostert's questionable. Watch that one out. But, I mean, either running back should be good. Pickens for the Steelers side, I'm fine with. I don't really know what to do with the rest of that Steelers team.
And then Patriots, I think, are going to crush the Bears. The Patriots are good at taking away your best things. They have a top corner to cover Darnell Mooney. They have Kyle Duggar to cover Cole Kmet. Good run defense. They're going to be fine in that game. All right, so here we go. Zachary in the chat. Pick 2, CMC, Sutton, Gallup. Go.
CMC and Gallup.
Agreed, fully. Kyle Mayer. Pick 1, Doubs, Pickens, Claypool.
Doubs and Claypool. No, sorry, Doubs and Pickens.
Doubs and Pickens. Yeah, I like Pickens a lot with the target share he's gotten later. Bradley Roach, Jamal Williams, or Drake London, full PPR.
Jamal Williams. Dude, that's a sound. We got 30 seconds left to
Jamal
go.
Williams.
Coming up left, 11-1. The Game Day Playbook presented by Fantasy Alarm here on the Bettor Sports Network. Stick with the station. Rest of the day, download the app. iTunes, Google Play Store, Bettor Sports Network. No better time than now. Good luck, everybody, in Week 7. Coop and I will be back. Well, I'll be back next week. James Grande will be with me. Coop's going on his honeymoon. We'll catch you guys next week.